This is the Danger Close podcast, Beyond the Books with me, Jack Carr. Welcome to the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. My guest today is my friend, Jim Shockey. You might know Jim from shows like The Professionals, Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventures, Uncharted, and his current show on the Outdoor Channel, Shock Therapy. He is a guide and outfitter from Canada, and his novel, Call Me Hunter, is out now, and it is absolutely fantastic. So now, without further ado, Jim Shockey. Man, thank you for taking the time, and congratulations, Call Me Hunter. We have so much to talk about. I'm so excited for this book to come out and for people to read it because they're going to learn so much more about you. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I had this problem when we did the podcast last time because I think I had just read the printed out Word document.
Yeah. It was my really rough, no ending even. The last 4 chapters weren't even there.
But it was so special when I read that. And, I was kind of worried because we're friends. I have so much respect for you and for your family and everything that you've done for those who venture afield, for your example, leadership. And then I'm like, oh, what if this is terrible? And here it is. And I'm like, oh, geez. And I sat down to read it and I'm like, it just blew me away. And there's nothing really even to compare it to out there. And that's when I sent it to Emily Bessler at Emily Bessler Books, imprint of Atria, Simon & Schuster. And I haven't sent her anything before. It's the only thing I've sent her. It had a different title. And I said, there's something very special about this. And I wouldn't send it to you if I'm not sending it to you just so I can tell someone else that I passed it along. I don't want to waste her valuable time. And anyway, it's incredible. I don't even know where to kick this thing off. First, you know what? Family. How's Luis doing?
It's pretty rough,
yeah.
Jack. I got to tell you. I mean, it was a year and 10 months ago that she got the diagnosis. They gave her 3 months and maybe 6 to 9 months if she did chemo, and now it's a year and 10 months. So we've been living day to day for the last year and 10 months. Yesterday, she did a psilocybin, the magic mushroom. It's some sort of a new treatment that Johns Hopkins University has done studies and said that it changes your pathways in your brain. So she did that yesterday. So she's still, she's still great. Looks at the world very positively and is an inspiration. Courageous. If I had, like that much of her courage, I'd be the bravest warrior out there. She's amazing, beautiful inside and out, still to this day.
Yeah, and you've those pictures, her smile in all those pictures, it's just remarkable. And you've been sharing that journey with everybody through social media, particularly Instagram. So tough.
Yeah, I think we there's nothing to hide. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Louise lived the most healthy life you can live. I mean, field to table, and she was a yoga dance instructor for 35 years. I don't think there's ever been a deep fried anything enter her mouth, and my pie hole, I fill it full of deep fried crap all the time, and she gets this. So there's many people going through similar journeys, and everybody eventually, and there's been 9 billion of us in the past, human beings have gone through this. So if 9 billion of us have gone through this before, and there's 8 billion around now today on this planet, and we're all going to go through it again, we can too, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And it's I think it's a time where you can embrace just the joy of being alive. We suddenly realize, okay, there's an end date on this. There's an expiry date, and this is your ticket. Whatever cliche you want to use, it puts your time into perspective. I just read something about that today. Who said that? where time is like money from a bank or a loan from the bank, where they'll loan you all the money you want when you don't need it. But when you need it, it's not there. And it's, we realize that every day is precious. We don't waste a minute. Never waste a minute. We never did. So there's no regrets in our life. We always lived true to who we are and what we believed. So I think that's important to share with people. And Louisa does too. She's made a big difference in many, many people's lives, just by her example. And if you what did Karl Marx say? From those according to their ability to those according to their need. Louisa has the ability, so she's giving. She's giving with that smile and by example. And I apologize to all your listeners for quoting Karl Marx. I'm sure that'll put me up on the.
I know. They're gonna. Well, please, please give her a hug from me and give her all my love and my best to all of you guys. I think about you every day, send prayers every day. Since you told me, I think Jesus. I remember exactly where I was when we talked, and it was working on book number 5. So I was in a rental, and we talked, and I'd already read the book, sent it to Emily. So it was like the fall, October of 2022. Anyway, everything's kind of blended into one long day for me. 21, and
might have been 2022. Yeah,
and
but it's been appreciated, and like I say, I want to make sure before this is done that I spend enough time thanking you and letting everybody know when you say you sent my novel off. Novelists never do that. That's just never done. Where you send I get people sending me books every week, and it's not something you pass on to an agent like Emily Bessler, who, for anybody that doesn't know, she's the rock star of editing out there in the publishing world. You did that. That's I don't know if you've read this latest version you have in your hand there, but I gave you a thank you in there that it gives me hope for this world. You didn't have to do that, because if you're wrong, then what it does, it reflects on you as a novelist. And it does, because you've used up, how much time does it take to read a novel by people that are so busy like Emily Bessler? It was a huge, and I promise you, I may never be able to repay you, but I promise you that will be paid forward to somebody out there as many times as I possibly can. As long as it's deserving. Obviously, like you said, you could have got it and go, oh, this one stinks. And
oh no, and it did not.
You gotta tell me, hey, by the way, your novel kind of stunk up the whole room, so that's why I never passed it up.
Well, it did not, but, and I wanted to wait until I had time. That's because I had it for, a good 4 months, maybe even longer before I sat down to read it, because I'm writing my book. I'm on deadline. I'm past deadline. And I'm just going. And I know I need, for this in particular, I wanted to spend I didn't want to skim it. I wanted to read it, and there's not much time to do that these days, because it's either reading a book for a podcast because a guest is coming on, or research for a book that I'm working on. So the days of me being able to string up a hammock in the backyard between 2 trees in the shade and just put my feet up and just read for the magic and the enjoyment of reading like I could do when I was younger. Those days are hopefully more in the future, but not right now. Now it's all, there's a focus, and there's a reason for spending that time doing these things. But I wanted to read yours that way. I wanted to experience it that way as a reader would, and really spend some time with it. So I remember I sat down. I remember where we were at the time. We weren't in this house yet, and sat there on this chair. The kids were off doing their thing, so I had a moment, a few hours of quiet, and had a cup of coffee, and I put it down, and I started reading, and I was like, wow, this is different, and this is special. And because I know you, I knew some of these things that you brought in, a lot of this background from your real life, from your earliest days up to today. And Wow, it was really cool to experience it like that. So I haven't read this one yet because I'm waiting for the hardcover because I want to experience the hardcover of this and seeing it from that printout, from that Word document that I read with a different title, and then to the final version. So I gave it a quick little look, and I went to the end there just because I saw my name, and so I read that. But I want to experience the hardcover when that arrives, and I know Emily will get me one right off the press. But and the cover is amazing. How cool is that?
I thought, yeah, I thought I had ideas I gave him because my whole life I've dealt in art and been interested in it, and fancy myself that I got a good sense of art. So I gave them ideas, and they kind of said, "Yeah, well, thank you very much, but no thanks." And here's what we're going to do. I said, "Wow, it's stunning."
Yeah,
stunning.
It really is. It's perfect, and I love the new title. The old, I don't know. Did you talk about the old title or no? Because sometimes I have a working title and then I don't share it because I might use it elsewhere down the line. So I don't know if you
later on, yeah.
So I don't know if I share. If
you
share
well,
the title
we did it. Yeah, we did on the last podcast. We did the working title was Man of Stars, and so it was out there, and the Man of Swords was a good title without the last 4 chapters, but with the last 4 chapters that you didn't get to read, Call Me Hunter makes a lot more sense now, and it's another play from another angle, another perspective, another level that I think it works. I'd love to say that I thought I had everything around it, but the actual Call Me Hunter was Emily. I am Emily.
Good for her.
And as soon as she said it, because I gave her, I'm going to say 2,000 titles, like I literally trying to find the perfect title. And we were talking about it. This was, well, I am sure I don't know, maybe you don't, maybe your titles are fantastic. I was looking at them again today. Like they're the best. I don't know if you pick every one of them out, but
I have thus far.
Yeah. They're great titles.
Thank you.
And that's the hardest. I think I was too close to it to actually see it. Oh yeah, of course, there's the title. It has to be the way the book's written.
Yeah.
So Emily Bessler she's not only a great editor, she's also extremely creative.
Oh yeah. Oh, she is fantastic. I was just talking to her this morning, and I've chosen all my titles thus far, picked them all. Like, it's important for me to have a title at the beginning, so I'm not wasting bandwidth, worried about that, thinking, oh my gosh, I've had good titles up to this point. What if I don't find a good one this time? So we're about to announce the title for book 7. So I chose that one, but a lot of authors don't. A lot of authors just say, I'm not good at it, or maybe they picked the first couple and then they're kind of struggling. And but a lot of authors don't pick their titles. But thus far I have. I think it's an important thing to think about. I think it is very important, that title to the story.
Well, of course, it's the first thing that people are going to see, and like I say, it was, I liked Man of Swords, but there's marketing comes into this, and point of purchase. What I understand is that I basically would have ixnayed 60% of the purchasers with Man of Swords, even though Man of Swords is kind of what the book's about, but it's also about Call Me Hunter. So yeah, she. And I was pretty adamant about Man of Swords, I got to say, because to me that was a great title. But I'm me, and that wouldn't turn me off at a point of purchase. So Call Me Hunter is a better title. But the whole process has been fascinating to me. The editing, how you do it. I tip my hat 100 times because it's the amount of work that I've discovered. I thought, okay, write a novel. There you go. Out it goes. No, I've read that my own novel at least, I'd say 8 times thoroughly, including out loud 3 times now. Just to try and pick out mistakes and flow that doesn't work, and still you find the odd little glitch. It's incredible. Besides the fact of all the other people that get involved, and for you to do what you do, you're writing the next one before the last one's hardly out. I'm nowhere near that disciplined. Different point in my life too. But I've worked out the next sequel in my head, but to actually sit down and write it, I like I say, I tip my hat. Kudos, salute. The discipline that you have to do what you do is amazing. Anybody that's out there listening to this, if you're not a novelist, yeah, and it's different because you're not, you're creating, and it's not you're writing about somebody. You're creating this as unbelievable depth of imagination, and I mean, I've read every one of your books. I held back because I got kind of bummed about reading them. I'd read them and then I got to wait 6 months. So I said no, and so I waited a year. So I had both of them. So then I just went cover to cover on both of them. It was your last two. It was awesome. In the Blood and
only the Dead is this one. In the Blood, the last one, yeah, Devil's Hand before that. But I love every part of the process. Yeah. I think love it, not dreading editing. I hear from other authors sometimes they hate a certain part of the process, whether it's the the marketing and interviews, or it's the editing, or it's coming up with the concept, or they struggle. I love every single part of the process, even though they're all difficult in their own ways. It's real bullets aren't flying at me, real grenades aren't rolling in, like that sort of a thing. So I put it in perspective as well, and realize that, if I make a mistake on these pages, not the end of the world. No one's going home in a body bag if I make a mistake here. People will let me know, because today you can let me know all sorts of different ways that there's a mistake somewhere in here. So I really try to get a lot of these, the technical details right. And obviously I want to honor the story with every single word. Every single word comes from my heart and soul. But I love the editing process. I love getting the manuscript where as good as I can get it, and then going back and trying to get it to the next level, and trying to figure out, are there any gaps in here? Any gaps I need to fill to set something up a little better? Or did something change from my outline or my idea over the past year of writing this that now needs a little more explanation? And anyway, I love every part of this process, and feel so fortunate to be here doing it. So that's probably part of it as well. But you knocked it out of the park with this, I gotta say.
Yeah, I just lost you there. I don't know what went on there, but
I think we're back. You're all the way up in Canada. And speaking of Canada, sometimes when I send you books, we're still. Sorry
about that. Back? I'm trying to. You've gone. So if you can hear me and still see me, great. I can't see anything. So.
Oh no, can you hear me?
But there, now I got you. Okay, go on.
Sometimes that'll have the technical glitches of not doing it in person. But I mean, you knocked it out of the park with this, and you're all the way up in Canada. We had some technical difficulties right there, but part of getting things to Canada, not just this the satellite connection that we have right now, is when I send you books, especially during COVID, they took a while to get there. I mean, it took one of the books, like I probably used it's probably Savage Son in 2020, and maybe the next one, The Devil's Hand. Like, Canada was serious about going through packages. Like, it took maybe a month or longer to get a book to you just in the mail.
I'm sure they probably tested it every which way for COVID. Did swabs, and I mean, who knows what's going on? But Canada was shut down. I mean, literally, we weren't allowed to leave our little local area. I mean, it's bizarre to think about it now, but it happened. It was, and the books did make it, and thank goodness. I mean, there's silver linings, right? I had time to sit down and read. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I never went anywhere. So it also gave me time to write.
Yeah. Was it a full year that the outfitters were shut down, or was it a 2 year? I forget now.
It was depending on when your outfitting was. Our spring bears were shut down for a year and a half.
Okay.
So 2 seasons basically, but a year and a half, everything was shut down. So if you caught it wrong, you lost 2 seasons. Our Yukon Territory, 1 season, and we could still take Canadian citizens, but not anybody else. And that was just a year that we had a fair few Canadians. I think there was 8 or 10 Canadians booked. They're full price. They don't get a discount for the Canadian exchange. And nor would I sell the hunts for the American guys that couldn't come up. I could have resold them in Canada for a discount and made money. But I wouldn't do that. To me, we're all in this together. So the Canadians that could come, they came, and so we had a partial season. I think Wojo and I got a chance my right-hand guy back in those days for 30, 25 years.
Wow.
We got a chance to go hunting together for the first time. It was awesome.
Very cool.
Normally we'll take 45 to 55 clients. So we had 8. It was fun. I mean, it's like I say, there's silver linings. I got to just explore the territory as much as I can. It's, I think, 7.5 million square acres. So not a single road. So exploration will probably take about 100 lifetimes before I even get a 10% of it covered.
Oh, I mean, well, I can't wait to make it up there. But right now, fires, right?
Yeah, we our base camp out of Mayo, we've got our 2 big 2-story log cabins there, and we just got evacuated. So the guys aren't back in our base camp yet, and that's on the very western edge of the territory. There is a road that goes to that spot, not into the territory, but on the border. Yeah. So the guys are out in the bush right now. We just dropped 3 Argos off in the Northwest Territories, and then the guys, like Uncharted wilderness, drove the Argos into the Yukon from the Northwest Territories, and they arrived at my personal camp yesterday. So wow. I mean, it's just so cool that it's not horse trails that you're following. This is just figuring out a way. I mean, you got maps and whatnot, but they figured out a way to get from the Northwest Territories, and we're talking a couple 100 miles. I mean, we can still do things like that in today's world, adventure. I was so jealous, actually, and I don't get jealous often, but those guys, I mean, you drop off at the end of the road and start going, just go. And you got to get to a place, rivers, whatever, mountains you got to cross. Just the challenge is still there for those of us that have that explorer's gene inside us. Yeah. And obviously it's there for those of us that had the gene but can't get up there right now, and that's, like I say, results in jealousy. But we're going still hard. We got our first sheep already. Oh wow! My hunts are Yukon Rogue River Outfitting Territory is physically demanding for sheep. I mean, it's backpack from the ground up. There's no horses. Okay. You've got everything you want. It's on your back for 14 days, and up you go. So we don't get a lot of sheep hunters, go figure, but I'll save one of those hunts for you someday. You're welcome to come up there.
Thank you. I'm going to need to get back in shape here. I've been doing a lot more writing than training as of late, but that's just kind of how it goes. And for those listening, the Argo are there 4 wheels on the Argo, or they can be tracked? Is that how? Or 4 on each side?
No, they're 8-wheel drive.
So 4.
4 on each side. Yeah. They're amphibious vehicles. They're made in Canada, actually, and I bump into them all over the world. Mozambique, up in the Zambezi Delta. I think you were there. They use Argos there, and on the Scottish Highlands they use Argos there. Nice. The Yukon we use Argos. Obviously British Columbia and all over North America. Yeah. Russia as well. I think Russia's starting to create their own variation of it now, but Argos, they're. I used to have 82 horses up there that we do it was all horseback. 5-day trail ride just to get to the first camp. Wow. Then the horses would stay there in the various camps all season, then we'd trail them out. But I traded all the horses in, or got rid of them, sold them, and replaced them with Argos. And each Argo does the work of 7 horses. Wow. So I can pack an entire moose and 2 guys and their gear in one Argo, and they're amphibious. I mean, they literally go anywhere. Although it gets a little bit exciting when you're trying to cross any fast flowing rivers here. I'm sure. Amphibious means they float. But they're forward wise. They're if you got any 3 to 5 mile an hour wind, you're going to be held still in the lake. Wow. So they're. Yeah, but you can put a little outboard on them too. But
I've seen videos
they're fabulous machines.
Yeah, I think I have some new ones out there now too. They've just for the past couple of years, some improvements or some upgrades. But a friend of ours uses one. We used to be on a lease down in Texas in Red River County, so it's right on the Texas-Oklahoma border. I took the kids out there for their first year, and our friend out there, he's been in a wheelchair since he's 16, and he's 50s now. But for someone who's in a wheelchair, had that Argo and being able to use it like a tracked vehicle, meaning one side can go and the other side cannot. You can pivot. Yep. pretty easily. So if you have a mobility issue, so for him, that he loves that Argo down there. And of course the kids love getting on it, or they did back when they were younger, getting on that thing and going out there with him. And essentially it's a moving blind. And because there's no fences out there in on that part of Texas anywhere, at least on our lease there. And but for him, it's great because it's a moving blind. He just moves that thing in and kind of backs it in, has some camo netting and some veg. We'd veg it up before we'd go out there, and the kids love doing that too, getting the veg and tying it in there. So he gets out there and can park that thing and then can adjust and to take his shot. So it's a really, really cool thing, especially for him being in that wheelchair. It's a cool thing for the kids to see that adaptation.
Yeah. They're like mini tanks too. I can get places. I can almost go anywhere a horse can go, and I can certainly go places a horse can't go. Where the only place we get stopped up on the Argo is on steep rocks. It gets too rocky. The Argo ceases to be the best choice, and horse becomes a better choice. But yeah, they're amazing. I love my Argo. They're like mini tanks. Nowadays,
and they work like tanks too. With how one side can go and the other can stay in place and pivot. So they're incredible machines. What did you find that was what was the biggest surprise to you after Emily read this and called you and you guys started talking about the process? Does anything stand out to you as having a preconceived notion about how something was done in publishing, or anything along those lines?
Just the time it takes. I mean, I'm used to running my own time. So if I want something done, I'll do it today, and it'll be done this week. But that, a book takes a long time. I mean, you got to sit down and read it. It takes hours and hours and hours. So that was the first thing was I guess the slowness of the process. But the more impressive thing to me was Emily's ability to read it and say, "Oh no, this doesn't work." I mean, I thought I was pretty good at writing, but she could take and say, "No, this whole paragraph, out of here." And I said, "Why?" I spent half a day on that paragraph. I love the paragraph, but her ability to see things that I couldn't see that were missing and suggest it, incredible. I mean, I think I said that in my credits at the end there, that, just wow, amazing talent that she has. As a ancillary part of that, I was told ahead of time all the rewriting process, the editing, it's horrible. They're going to butcher your thing. I loved it. When you're talking about, loving every part of it, I literally loved. I could not wait to get her to say, "Okay, I see that." When she says that, I see that, and she was right. I'd say 98% of the time, and the 2 times out of 100 that I put my foot down. I don't know that I was right. It was just what I wanted that to be it that way. But I loved it because you're taking. And I said it in there, to take a chunk of granite and cut it down to facet it to this gem. It was really cool, and I don't think it was that horrible. You read the roughest version of it.
It was fantastic.
It was. Well, thank you, but the one you have in your hand right now is better.
Yeah,
and I, like I said, 4 more chapters. She right off the bat said, You can't do that. And I said, "Well, can't do what?" And she said, "You can't leave it as a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It has to be your first time." Yeah. And literally she said, "Jack Carr can do that, but you can't." That's what she said. You're established best-selling. You could leave a cliffhanger, but apparently on my first novel, I'm not allowed to. Or at least I could have put my foot down artistically, and they would, but she's right. She's right. So of course I literally wrote the first 4 chapters of the sequel that I had in my head and just attached them on because that answers the questions of the first one. It was my hubris thinking that I could just do a cliffhanger. I'm Stephen King or something. Right. But I loved the editing process. I really loved it. To figure it out and to find the words and fix this and make this or make sense of that. Well, you said this and refer to that. So that that part was I found really interesting. The other thing that I found was how complicated it is to keep references that you made at the beginning of the novel. You know, I'm writing 6 months later, and I didn't refer to it, you know, the right time, date, whatever, place.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and then when you read it again, you catch it one or two, and then, but it's not until the fourth time that you catch it, and then you realize, I mean, I don't know how many times you'd have to read a book before it's perfect. It would have to be, maybe they do come out perfect, and you know, no one will be getting a hold of me and saying, "Hey, you forgot to dot an I" or something. But yeah, I was, yeah, and that is sort of over all in the whole thing was how much work it is. I think I make a joke about it and say, I've been writing 2019 November I started, and I've made about $1.50 an hour in my novel so far.
There you go.
And, you know, but I never wrote it for the dollars. I mean, dollars are wonderful if it comes in, but you know, I had that in my head. I wrote the first lines 25 years ago. Yeah, Spago's dead. I killed him, and I wrote that. I knew the first page was all written, and I had it outlined in my head. So, you know, I didn't do it for the money. I waited till I lived life, and I think I might have said that in one of a review on your book on the very first term.
You did.
Second,
I remember.
But that's, you live life, and then you have a story to tell, and that's, you know. So I've lived my life. Now it's time to tell the story. So I don't consider myself a writer, an author, yes, but not a writer. That's why I don't feel any pressure to start doing a sequel right away.
Well, it's great. I guess that's good that you don't feel the pressure to do that, because that's different, because most people do. But I had already written most of the second one by the time the first one had come out. I was already in Mozambique doing my research before I'd even sent the book to Emily, before any of that. So I always knew I was going to write two, and then if both didn't work out, then I was going to reevaluate. But John Grisham wrote A Time to Kill first, and then he couldn't give that book away. And then he writes The Firm, and that takes off. So if he had gotten discouraged that he couldn't, and I think A Time to Kill is arguably, I haven't read all his books, especially these later ones, but I read all of those out of the gate. Time to Kill, and Pelican Brief, and I think A Time to Kill, I would, if you had to say, you know, what's your quote unquote favorite, which is a term I don't like to really use, but I think it's one of his best works, is A Time to Kill, and that's the one he couldn't give away. So I thought, well, you know, if he had stopped then, he might just now be retiring from some law practice that he hated. Always thinking back to, gee, should I have written that second book? Should I have written The Firm? And of course he did, and Tom Cruise stars in the movie, and it's a, you know, huge international bestseller, and we've had a John Grisham novel every year since. So I had that in my mind. So that's why I was already in Mozambique doing that research before I'd even sent the first novel to Emily. Service isn't just what Navy Federal Credit Union does, it's who they are. That's why Navy Federal created tools to help you earn and save more. Make your financial goals a reality with great rates and low fees. Members enjoy earnings and savings of $473 per year by banking with Navy Federal. An average credit card APR that's 6% lower than the industry average. A market-leading regular savings rate nearly 2 times the industry average. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/offers. I've been a member of Navy Federal since I enlisted in the Navy in 1996 and have had nothing but positive experiences with them for what is now closing in on 30 years. Wherever we were stationed, whether at home or abroad, Navy Federal was by our side. Navy Federal has made it their mission to help military members and their families tackle home ownership. With their new no refi rate drop option, you can buy a home now. And if rates drop later, you can then lower your rate without refinancing. Plus, they also offer mortgage options with 0 down payment. So you don't need to wait years to save at Navy Federal. Our members are the mission. Find out more at NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA, membership required, equal housing lender, open to the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families. NavyFederal.org.
Recently on Change Agents, an Ironclad original, Andy Stump spoke with journalist Mark Bunker about his investigations into allegations of abuse by the Church of Scientology.
These people showed up at Lisa's hospital room and convinced her to check herself out against the doctor's wishes. They told the doctor, hey, we're going to take care of her. She'll be fine. They took her back to the Fort Harrison, put her in a room, locked her up there for 17 days, where they put her on what Hubbard called the introspection rundown, or baby watch. And this was this nonsense that Hubbard created to handle a psychotic break. The theory was they need complete silence. Finally, after 17 days, her condition became so bad that they decided, instead of calling an ambulance, of course, they decided to throw her in the back of one of their vans, and they drove her to a hospital, but not the Morton Plant Hospital, a couple of blocks away. No, they drove 45 minutes to another hospital where there was a Scientologist doctor on call. And when they showed up there, she was dead.
To see the full interview and more, check out Change Agents wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube at This Is Ironclad.
Yeah, see, that's super cool. And I mean, I knew that you were that disciplined. I mean, yeah, I could, and I should, and I know all that.
You've got a few things going on right now, though, and this is so fantastic. I'm just glad that you're going to enjoy this, that your family's going to enjoy this whole process, seeing this on shelves, have that hardcover out there, and for other people to read this and see how talented you are, and really dive into this story, because it is so unique, like I said, and it's so fantastic, and it does stand alone. It's really, you can't really drop it into, it'll get thrown into a cat genre category, because that's what we do, but it's hard to really fit it specifically into one. It does fit, but it's different, and it's so great and so unique and so personal, which is why I really loved it. But what you're talking about earlier about those phrases that paragraph you spent a day on or a half day on, Stephen King talks about that in On Writing, and about falling in love with a phrase or a sentence or a paragraph or a character that's going to need to go later on. As hard as that is, you've got to cut it away. He talks about that. But this last one, the portions in Colorado on the Taylor River were originally in my outline down in Argentina. And I always wanted to put Argentina into a book. I went to Tipaluque Lodge down there and spent some time down there as I was starting to write this last one. And by the time I got to it in the novel, it felt forced. And I knew it felt forced. It was not going to be natural for my character to go all the way to Argentina and then back up. So the Argentina portions became Colorado and became the Taylor River. And I'll use Argentina again in something else in the future. But sometimes it's just things are gonna change as you go through the process, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And like you said, I mean, that's, you got to love that, because it makes a better ultimately what you want is the best. I mean, maybe not everybody, there's people at mediocrity that just they're good enough, but that's not you, and it's not me. So to make it better, whatever that is, if I got to cut off finger to make something better, then so be it. That's what's got to happen. Yeah. And I mean, I get it, but yeah, and I never kept the words and the lines that were edited out, but I wish I would have kept them in a file somewhere, because I think they're great.
Yeah,
still think they're great.
Oh yeah, you got to keep them. Well, they'll be back in. You can go back and look in those older Word documents and pull them out. But as you go along, and I do that as I go along, I do exactly that. I pull out those parts and then I put them in another Word document, and I forget what I title. I title it like book 7 cutouts or something like that. So it's in a folder on my desk, and I just yank those out, drop them in that Word document, and it's over there, because maybe 2 months from now I go, oh, I shouldn't have cut that out, or what did I cut out and why? And it's right there, and I can go reference it. Or for a future novel, which has also happened in the past, I've grabbed one of those paragraphs out and it's made it into a future novel. So that's a good idea.
Sure,
I think.
Because just because it's not, it doesn't make it in this one, doesn't make it not good writing. Mm-hmm. But because I was such a novelist, I didn't do that. But I do have it in hard copy, and I'm sure I got the original digital versions somewhere,
Yeah.
so I can.
I have it.
Now it's not. It's work now. I got to go dig through it and figure it out.
Yeah. It's all about efficiencies too. Efficiencies, especially when you're juggling, life in general. That's just how it goes. When you were writing this, or when you look back on it, there are things in here that if people don't know you, they're just going to come off as very creative and insightful, and just amazing writing, propelling the story forward. For those who maybe know you personally, or even people who have followed you on Instagram and seen some of those throwback photos, they're like, wait a sec, water polo? Wait, didn't I see that on his Instagram maybe a year ago? Did he do something and now it's in this book? So there'll be something for everybody in this, whether they know you or don't, and it'll be a different experience for those people, I think. So it's really cool to have a book and different people are bringing different backgrounds, personal experiences to anything they read or watch, or anything creative. So that's just a part of it. But because this is so personal, this one kind of stands out as something that's so well done, but that people who know you will be like, wait, what? And they'll stop and they'll think, wait, okay, let me go back to that water polo thing, or let me go back to that museum piece that he showed. When was that? 2 years ago on Instagram? They'll be scrolling through, or like, am I crazy? Is this something that's real? So when you look back on writing this or rereading it and editing it, what parts that were so personal to you stand out in here as being the most emotional, or the most personal to you, or maybe something that you thought about not including because it was too personal?
I've even say that in the preface, that I would love for somebody that's got a lot of resources to dig into it, to find out.
I read that.
What's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's like quicksand. If you want to struggle against this, go ahead. Well, how many levels down do you want to go to try and prove something is false? Because you're not going to be able to. You will not be able to prove it's false, because it's so autobiographical. People here in the museum, that's where I'm talking to you right now from, but they'll ask me about it, and I'll say, look, it's not an autobiography, but it's 80% true. And the 20% that would put anybody in jail, that's the fiction part. And I just kind of smile and say, it's up to you to figure out what part's what. But the not being able to read, and I don't want to give everything away, but the young boy Hunter, when I was that age, I couldn't read. My parents took me into a child psychiatrist and said, what's wrong with this kid? He can't read. Well, what I couldn't read was see Dick run and see Jane jump up the mountain or whatever. I wasn't interested, and they tested me, and just like I say, it's all true. They tested me and said, it's not that your kid can't read, you're just not giving him a book that he's interested in. Take him to the library, take him to the adventure or the wildlife section, and let him pick his own books. And I mean, I was reading adult novels quickly after J.A. Hunter. But I remember reading grade 5. I was sent to detention so many times. I read J.A. Hunter 3 times in a row. By J.A. Hunter.
Got it in the other room.
And actually, in our museum here, I have a first edition of J.A. Hunter's book, Hunter, the one that started me on this whole outdoor wild career, signed by J.A. Hunter and given, dedicated to Jack O'Connor.
Wow.
And it's from Jack O'Connor's library.
No.
So I got that here in the museum. A book that was so this is the power of books. So, you're asking me which parts of this. J.A. Hunter, the child's name Hunter, the fact that I read Hunter, J.A. Hunter's book when I was that age and couldn't read, and yet I could read at a level, almost university level at that age, but not interested in what they were teaching. I mean, that's really close to home stuff. Things like Eva Mendel Miller, I mentioned her in the Mendel Art Gallery in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I have, while I was writing this, I was, I researched, you were researching, and I was researching Eva Mendel Miller. One of her paintings came out. She was trained by Hoffman. She's, from, Germany originally, escaped the the Second World War with her family. They started the Mendel Art Gallery, very wealthy family, one of Canada's top art galleries. And she was also an artist, well trained, not sought after because she never sold her paintings. But as I was researching this, one came up during COVID in a local auction that you weren't allowed to go see. And people were, the world's ending. So there's an Eva Mendel painting here in the museum, and it only came about because I was writing about Eva Mendel Miller and just happened to Google Eva Mendel Miller that day when the auction came up.
Wow.
And I bought it online without ever seeing it. Things like that. The novel is filled with serendipity.
It is.
All parts of it. Goldie Hawn, all those.
And I'm going to read this part just for people that are wondering what we're talking about. I'll read this part from the preface here, and you're kind of explaining the book, what's ahead, setting the stage. But right here, you're like, ask Goldie Hawn if what is written about her in Call Me Hunter is true. She will remember the old world operative Icarus, but of course, like the others, she will know him by a different name. And yes, she does have a cute giggle. Like all sorts of things like that throughout. There'll be names people know that are household names, and names that you're like, does that sounds like somebody familiar, maybe. And then others that will probably go over people's heads. And so you can read this a bunch of different ways, but that's kind of one of the examples of what we're talking about for those watching or listening. And I love how you say, this is my story. I mean that figuratively, but also literally. This is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm so glad that this is going to be out there soon. And 23rd, or no, 17th of
October.
Yeah, 17th of October, but available for pre-order right now wherever people get their novels. But so you've had a lot to do this year, obviously. And what about, what did they figure out that your health thing was? Arthritis? What was going on there? Because you talked about that on Instagram as well. What was going on with that?
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing. A year ago in July, I love golfing. That's my exercise. Cathartic. I hit the little white ball around, and I hurt my knee. And I've had my knees. I'm sure you have too. Had them scoped out before, and I figured, here we go again. And I tried to put up with it for about a month, and I finally called a orthopedic surgeon friend of mine and said, "Look, he said, get here by this afternoon. We'll scope it out." So I did. I played in our club championships a week later with knee braces on both knees. And a week after that, and I came third in that, by the way.
Nice.
A week after that, all of a sudden my other knee started hurting really badly. And this knee started hurting, and then my shoulders and my hips, and then, wrists and elbows, and within 2 weeks, I literally couldn't get out of a chair. I had my wife video, just so I could remember this, and trying to get down 4 steps. It was the worst pain I've ever been. That pain, inflammation number that they talk about, CRP or CPR or something, that you should be 4 is the norm, and mine was 137. And at 100, you're incapacitated. Basically, you're in pain from inflammation. It's not swelling; it's inflammation, whatever that is. So they thought it was something called polymyalgia rheumatica, some weird PMR thing that you're on. The only thing they know can help it is prednisone. So they hit me with huge doses of prednisone, and it went away within 3 days. I mean, I felt really crappy, but I could at least get up and walk. But then they started testing me for all these exotic diseases, because I've been today. I did a stress test earlier today, and this guy's an infectious disease specialist, and he basically, because I've been all through the Congo and Ghana and Cameroon and Liberia and everywhere in West Africa, Burkina Faso, all those places, I've been exposed. He said there's so many viral diseases that are in those places, and we don't know. He said there's hundreds in each country that aren't even identified, or they're identified, but they have no tests for them. Wow. And he said they've proven that there's many that can cause arthritis, or that whatever arthritis is, the inflammation. So he said, he thinks that I probably picked up something in those travels, in those exotic places, and it just lays latent until someday when you're, you have a low resistance, stress, whatever. And God knows there's been a lot of that in our lives here for the last year and a bit. So probably that kicked it off, and it's probably that. They don't know. They still don't know to this day. They've got me doing some biologic infusions. I don't even know the name of it. I was injecting myself in my stomach with methotrexate for months, and still on a handful of pills every morning. It's the most bizarre thing, but I'll slowly wean myself off. I'm back to golf now.
Okay.
Not as good. I came fourth on our club championships for seniors, not even the whole. And so not as good as I once was, but I'm functioning. I don't know that I could go climb a sheep mountain right now, but it's probably that. And I know it's not politically correct, and nobody can say this stuff, but we've all been vaccinated, or not all of us. Some of us, up here in Canada, if we wanted to see our grandkids, we didn't have a choice. You don't know. Nobody out there is smart enough to tell me that this didn't affect this. It was caused by this, and these, three disparate things all of a sudden happening at the same time create, what I was dealing with for 11 months. A month ago, I did not think I'd ever be able to golf again. That's how bad it was. I thought, okay, I'm done. I was doing 12,500 steps a day every single day of the year for years. I monitored that, and it had to be 12,500 at least or more, but averaged 12,500 over every day of the year. And once I got that, I dropped down to, literally 500. So that's what it was like for 11 months. And then suddenly could lift my left arm up, and now I can almost go up this high. So it's, who knows? Maybe it's the drugs. Maybe it's just time. Maybe it's your body finally recalibrating. Maybe it's just gone dormant again. Who knows? But yeah, it's a weird thing. And I've had so many people since. Lyme's disease. People talk about that and say, well, it's, and I've been bitten by every single tick and chigger from, around this world. And I literally get bitten by one of those now, and it's just, I swallow it up because I've built up a non-resistance to them, whatever that is. So it's hard to say, a bug bite somewhere 30 years ago.
Yeah.
The doctors don't know. Jeez. They don't know. It's something they know. They can see the problem. They can see the test results, but they can't identify what it is, and they can't pinpoint how to fix it. So, it's part of life, right? We all get to, I'm sure it'll show up in a novel someday that I'll write when I get around to writing the sequel.
Yeah.
Don't tell Emily and the Simon and Schuster people that I haven't started on the.
I won't. Your secret's safe with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, it's just between us and these two rooms, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So, and how's Brandlin, Eva? How's everybody doing? Have you guys gotten together a lot as a family over the last year? I saw Brandlin's doing something with Cam Haynes. They're working on their thing, I think, together. And so it's been really cool to see you guys, how close you are as a family, and how open you are with sharing all that. Is so inspirational for so many people. You'll never know exactly how many people you've influenced over the years, but in particular this last year, showing your strength and how close you all are. How are the kids doing?
They're doing good. They've got their own families. Obviously, Louise is our, center of our universe. So Evie's flying in tomorrow. Brandlin's been here with his family for the last almost month. Actually, tonight, when we're done this podcast, Brandlin is his first command performance.
I saw that you posted about it today.
Yeah. He's actually. We've set up our museum's got a big stage and whatnot, so he's going to be on stage performing his original songs. He's really, really good, and I know I'm his father, so I'm biased, but honestly, his songs are really, really good. He's got a fabulous singing voice. He's a virtuoso on a guitar. And yes, it sounds like a proud father, but I'm also a very realistic guy, because you have to be. If you start thinking your caca doesn't smell in the worlds that I live in, and you've been there and far worse, it's not reality is reality. Whatever it is, you deal with reality. And if my son was a crappy guitarist and a crappy singer, I would say, well, he's doing his best. But he really is good. I would be down the road, let's just see if he puts his mind to it, because that's what it'll take. He's so talented at everything. He's got to pick something and just do it. But he's going to be playing for an hour tonight, and if in 5 years, let's revisit this.
Okay,
we'll do another podcast.
Perfect.
Let's just if any of Brandlin's songs have done whatever they're supposed to do, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, people can go to your Instagram and scroll through and hear some of his him playing the guitar, and I mean he is so talented with the video camera, with a camera, with that guitar, and they can listen to some of that on your Instagram. I wish I was going to be there tonight. That'd be amazing to see that and to say hi to her. Please tell them both that I said hello.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, and Eva's doing good too with her social media.
Oh, yeah.
Eva and Co. Designer products. She's an influencer, whatever that is. So she's got zillions of followers and sells all this really cool stuff. I actually like it. The things that she sells is great eye. Again, visually she gets it when she sees something that's beautiful. She has that ability to sense it. So she's doing good. Her family's doing great. Tim, her husband, Tim Brent is, he's killing it in commercial real estate. Nice. I mean, it's such high level stuff.
Yeah.
And they have that many zero kind of project. It's like,
that's serious
it's
business.
out of my league.
Yeah.
A little house renovation for $100,000 is a big giant deal. But, he's $1 billion projects.
Amazing.
So he's doing really well.
Great.
Yeah, they're doing great.
Yeah, I love following along, and their house is so beautiful. And she shared so much of it, the design and building it. And so we ended up at a different spot, but we had picked out or thought we were going to get a lot a couple of years ago. And so I asked her about, hey, what did you guys do? Would you mind sharing those plans with my wife? Or, what did you pick out and all that stuff? So we ended up moving up a little farther outside of town here. But so we didn't end up doing that, but she was so nice and kind and was like, absolutely, share everything with you guys, and that was just really, really cool for her. So you have your family is inspirational on many different levels, and I think, is it the first one of the shock therapies, you have Brandlin talking about his first hunt, I think, or one of his first hunts, or he's talking about growing up, because you have video of him because you've been doing this for a while, so he was from birth, essentially, right?
I get guys that are in their late 40s coming up to me and say, I watched you when I was a kid. And I go, no, you couldn't. Do the numbers. Yeah, they actually could have. Well, I started videoing 39 years ago. Wow. So that's, Brand's been there since day one with a camera shoved in his face. Mm-hmm. But, he's taken it to a whole, his Once We Were Wolves, and that he produced with Cam Haines and Kip Fulks. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's just really talented young man. And we had him on the my podcast, or it's Shock Therapy as a TV show, but it's basically a podcast. We just refer back to all the olden day footage. So I was dragging out footage of him when he was 10 years old, hiking on bear hunts and whitetail hunts, sitting on stand. He's just so, like I say, so talented. He took after Louise. Him and Eva and I both know that what we have is sort of the street ability and a lot of desire. Those Louise and Brandlin have, they somehow were gifted with all the talent, probably because, God, the creator, whoever endows you with this talent, knew that Eva and I would totally abuse it. If we were given that much talent, we'd be insufferable.
Oh, you guys.
Louise and Brandlin are so nice. Like, they're the nicest people in the world. And just talent oozing out of them, everything they do in the arts.
Oh, man.
So, and Brand's too. So, we're pretty proud of our family.
Yeah. Oh, well, you have reason to be. And I know we touched on it last time, but that 39 years ago, starting to film hunts, did you have a plan in mind then when you started about how you wanted to build, or what was, and was the first show, what was it called? Was it Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventures yet? Or was it a show, or was it filmed for another, like, how did that kick off all those years ago?
I wrote my first hunting article. It was 39 years ago. So, and I had the little home videos, but we weren't filming hunts at that point. I wrote my first article. I sold it to Bowbender magazine up in Canada. Kathleen Windsor, I think I mentioned this last podcast. She gave me $42 for
Yeah.
it. That started me on my outdoor professional career.
Okay.
And I wrote at least 1,000 articles, but as I was watching the magazines and, the big heroes in Jack O'Connor, we talked about him earlier, they Jim Zumbo guys, they were magazine guys, and they were famous. But I came up right at that time when, you didn't have to use film cameras, whatever they were. You could use video cameras. So they're big, ugly VHS cameras, but at least you could film now, like a TV show. And you didn't have to you could edit it yourself with the little computer programs in those days. And it was about that same time that the Cablevision networks were coming on board. So they needed content, and some of the early, people that jumped on were like Bill Jordan from Realtree and Will Primos from Primos and the Mossy Oak guys, Toxie Haas. Those guys all jumped on the TV programming earlier than me. They were big companies at that point. I went into the hunting, and so I wasn't marketing a product. I was actually hunting and guiding, outfitting. And I realized that they're going to need a lot more content for all those Cablevision networks. So I said, well, I'll get the best video camera I can afford, and let's video the hunts and hire somebody, the young kids can run the tech stuff, and let's make our own TV shows. So I basically, that's what I did. I went to the Outdoor Channel and at that time you could buy the airtime. So you'd buy positions on the network, and you buy commercial space as well. And they'd keep usually 4 minutes and give you 3 minutes. But because I'd been writing, I had sponsors. And so I went to them and said, hey, you guys want a TV show? I'll do a TV show. And I had all access to some of the best hunting in North America in my own outfitting territories, because that's really what I am as an outfitter. And so all the sponsors, thank you, every one of you, they jumped on board.
Yeah.
Loophole's been with me since day one.
Wow.
And we started producing Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventures. But I produced videos, VHS videos first. I was on other television shows before that. Okay. Bill Jordan's Realtree Outdoors. Okay. I think my first show that I was on ESPN back in 1984. Yeah.
84.
No, hang on. No, I take that. 1991. 1991. Yeah.
Still ESPN in 91 with a hunting show or a segment or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was one of the hosts of the show. It was North American Hunter or North American Outdoors, one of those two names.
Wow.
That was, so I was a co-host on that for a few episodes, and then went on TNN with Bill Jordan on the Realtree Outdoors. I had a segment on there for home videos, because I went to Bill and said, look, everybody's got these little home videos. There's got to be cool footage up there of wildlife or whatever, something to do that outdoorsmen would be interested in. And he said, yeah, if you can get the footage together. So I started putting feelers out and gathered the footage, and we did a segment every week. I can't even remember if we had 1 or 2 or 3 pieces on each week, little video bits. And then we sold the VHS videos of them.
Okay.
So, and in those days, VHS videos were selling for $50 each.
Wow.
And that was, if you had a VHS machine, and that's what we sold, gazillions of them. So that's, by the time I had my own TV show on air, 2001, Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventures, I'd already been producing videos. Well, we didn't call them VHS videos back then. And then now they're CDs or whatever. CDs, I don't even know what they're called, or even if they sell them.
DVDs are streaming. Probably they're all streaming now. Every now and again you catch some. There's still some DVDs out there, but obviously not as many DVDs as there were 10 years ago, certainly. The 8 Sleep mattress cover. As soon as I lay down on the 8 Sleep pod cover, it's a high-tech mattress cover that regulates sleeping temperature via an app. I knew it was something special. It comes in this box right here directly to your door. The 8 Sleep pod cover is an intelligent cooling and heating system designed for any bed. It dynamically heats and cools throughout the night to help you sleep better. Sleep as cold as 55 degrees Fahrenheit or as warm as 110. It has personalization features that lets you set a temperature, choose wake up and sleep times, and more. The pod cover fits on any bed like a fitted sheet and will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting the temperature on each side of the bed based on you and your partner's individual needs. This product truly provides the ultimate sleep experience. Invest in the rest you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Go to 8sleep.com/dangerclose and save $150 on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. 8 Sleep currently ships within the USA, Canada, the UK, select countries in the EU, and Australia. That's 8sleep.com/dangerclose to save $150 on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. What did you learn over those? What lessons did you take? It seems like a pretty good on-ramp from early days on a couple other shows, selling the VHS tapes to your own show. Because your stuff, there's a reason that it won all those outdoor awards over the years. Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventures, The Professionals, now Shock Therapy. I mean, there's a reason that you were a cut above the other shows that were out there. And do you think that ramp up from starting with the way you did, instead of just hopping right in and trying to figure it out, it seems like you had a good kind of on-ramp learning as the Outdoor Channel and these other shows, these other cable networks came online. It seems like you had a good foundation anyway.
Yeah, you know, it's not the storytelling. When the ramp up for being on camera, being in front of the camera, yeah, my first one, hi, I'm Jim Shockey. Hope you had a good day, like horrible. But you learn that quickly, you know, how to get your up and down when you're talking. But the storytelling, and that's what television is, that's writing. It always comes back to the writing. So I have absolutely no doubt you could do television. Oh, wait, you did. You know, I mean, it's the ability to tell a story, and you have to be able to write to be able to tell a story. Now, whether you're doing it in a manuscript or what do they call the ones that you use for movies?
Screenplays. Screenplay.
Screenplay, yeah. So it doesn't matter. It's all storytelling and visual. What do you see and how do you describe that? And it's the exact same thing with a camera, except I don't have to write about what's on my background because you can see it. But if you're writing a story, you have to tell about it. But just being able to talk about the background or show the background doesn't tell a story. You have to be able to tell a story. And the 1,000 articles that I published before I ever published my first television show, that's the ramp up. You know, being able to catch somebody in a 1,500 words, a story, you know, take them to a faraway place, entertain them for whatever amount of time it took, and then out. And photography is part of that. So that's the visual side of it, you know, and it's not moving images, it's still images, but still you're capturing that moment. So you've got to also have that eye, as the eye of a photographer and the ability to tell a story like a writer. Yeah. So everything else for television, it's all predicated on your ability to do those two things. Right. But storytelling, it comes down to it. Terminal list. Are you kidding me? I sat through that every episode.
Oh, thank you.
I binge watched.
Oh, nice.
Horrible. Yeah, you're welcome. You know how many bags of chips I went through?
Awesome. Oh, I love to hear it.
It was so cool. And you know, all me and my buddies, you know, which one are you on? We're like, nice. That's because you've transported us. Mark Sullivan said that when he read the manuscript, or he actually read. Mark Sullivan, best-selling author. That's another segue story I'll tell real quick. I might have told it in the last one, but Mark Sullivan said that's what my manuscript did. He texted me from Abu Dhabi or somewhere. You know, he was on an in between airplanes. Okay. And he was reading. He said, "I put it onto my cell phone so I can finish." He said, "You've transported me," and that is the critical need of a novel for it to be any good, and so that was a huge hit. And I'll just go back now to tell the story about Mark Sullivan. We were at SHOT Show 93 maybe. I'm trying to think. And he was there, and we met each other. I think General Chuck Yeager was right there with us too. He actually asked Louise if she wanted to go meet him in his room. It was hilarious. I probably did this last time. I said, General Chuck, you're just a dirty old man. He just laughed, and he was doing it that's his way of paying respect to Louise. And how beautiful she. But Mark and I were blabbering. He told me that he'd just written a novel, Purification Ceremony. And he was, and I've always wanted to be a novelist since I was 10 years old. I wanted to do this museum, and I wanted to be a novelist. Truly, I started when I was 10. Horrible, because I had no story to tell, and I could, I knew how to read by then, but I couldn't, I didn't have a story to tell. So it's always been something I wanted to do. And he told me that he'd written Purification Ceremony. I was like over the moon excited for him. Just wow, I'm totally envious and so proud of you, and because it's a huge, big deal, like to be able to write that. And now Mark Sullivan, of course, is New York Times #1 bestsellers, as you are. I lost track of him for a little while. He wrote with James Pattison for a while. Mr. Mercedes, all those books. Those were his. Fabulous writer, great writer. But he was started in the industry the same time as I did. I went into the television side. And I didn't think I had a story to tell, which all brings me around to when you and I were standing, I think, at the Congressional Sportsman.
That's right.
I think that's where it was.
That's where it was. Yeah, Dallas Safari Club. Yeah.
It was amazing. Like you're a novelist, and again, for the second time in my life, I was standing beside a novelist that's from our world. Our world is different than the other world that most people live in the big cities and whatnot. And it was so cool. I think you were there I was there when Chris Pratt called you.
Yep. You're right there. Yep. You're right there. So it was early January of 2018. So the book wasn't even out yet. And we were talking about how it's coming out, and you were asking me some questions. And then I got the call that said he wants it. Chris Pratt wants to option this thing. And he was the one person that I wanted to star as James Reese, my protagonist. So yeah, you were right there when I got the call. I'm like, oh, excuse me, and went outside and right there in the hallway there at Dallas Safari Club and did that. So that was cool that you were right there when I got that call. It'll always be special to me.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I like I say, that was a dream of mine from when I was 10 years old. And here, like Mark and you, now, and hopefully. I'm waiting for I got my cell phone right here in case Crit's going to give me a call.
Hey, yeah.
Option.
You never know.
Hunter, but
you never know. Yeah, someone should. Yeah, absolutely. That's what's great about getting it out there and getting the word out of there and getting these different people to read it and get interested in it and get blown away by it, and then think about what they could do telling it through a different medium on television or in film in a movie. And it's yeah. And I love what Mark said about it's transporting him. That's the perfect way to put it, and it certainly does that. And very interesting about the storytelling, because your shows over the years really stand out as having a story and telling them in a way that's engaging and does transport people into the backcountry all around the world. And that's why you and your family were on stage at the Golden Moose Awards year after year after year, accepting all these awards. And those were fun years too. I'll say. I don't know, everything's turned into one long day for me, but probably over a decade now, when we used to do them at the Along with Shot show at the Golden Moose Awards for Outdoor Channel before they moved it over to the Venetian, when it was at Hard Rock. And they had the bands down below. We had the tables right there, the couple tiers up there with the different bars and the private areas and all that. Like, that was a really cool venue and a really special time for the outdoor industry, I think. And we had people that had been downrange, Iraq and Afghanistan, that are getting invited to these things and meeting people in the outdoor industry and other people in the tactical industry as well. And it was just a really tight-knit community, because a lot of these companies, yes, they're there to sell a product and that sort of thing, but a lot of them can't do that without the freedom to do so, without this natural rights that are enshrined in this country in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Speaking of, did Canada recently pass some more restrictive gun control measures? Is that?
You had to ruin a good day.
I'm sorry. I only bring it up. I only bring it up because I knew a couple of years ago you were dabbling in some politics.
Yeah, and I still, that's out there as a possibility, and the reason is, and I'm talking about running for federal government. So I don't know what you guys would call it, a congressman or something like that. We call it an MP, a member of parliament, federal member of parliament, because if you don't stand up and take the heat. I mean, who wants it? You watch good people that try and put their hand in and they just get lambasted. Their lives get destroyed and dissected, and but eventually you just can't keep saying, okay, no, I don't. I got enough money in my life. I can live like I want. You have to stand up. You just have to, and if it takes the heat, and for me, what are you going to do? Send me home? I've been there, done that. You're not going to affect me. I don't need this job. In fact, I don't even want the money. Even our museum, we're donating the entire thing, land, building contents, and an endowment to cover expenses for 40 years. Wow. We're giving it all away. So I don't need the money. And that, I think, is part of the problem with what we have going on right now is politician has become a career. And what do they actually produce? No, their whole job is to just get reelected. And that doesn't mean they stand for anything. They just go with this way with the wind, this. And sometimes you have to say, this cod liver oil pill tastes like crap, but it's good for you. And I mean, my grandmother knew that. She lived to be 99 and my mother lived to be 89. We need to sometimes swallow bitter pills, and someone has to be strong enough and not be afraid of what they might lose in terms of the next election to say, no, this is the right thing to do. And our country up here is being run by a young man that he there's quote, there's video of him saying that, the hunters and ranchers, they use firearms and firearms should never be taken away from them. This is before he was elected. Now to get reelected again and cater and pander to the urban voters, he's totally switched. Well, what did you stand for? What did you actually, who are you? And you're leading me, leading my family, leading this country. And you, what do you stand for? You don't stand for anything. I don't even know who I'm voting for if I vote for you, because you're just going to vote for, you're going to stand for whatever gets you reelected. And that's why the politics has entered. I've been asked, I don't know that I wouldn't be, considered a nightmare to the whatever party that would, I'd be trying to run for a nomination, because, I've got a past that includes hunting, and hunting today is where hunters are marginalized and vilified in the popular mainstream media. So you put somebody out there that's got this past that I have, what party is willing to stand up and say, yeah, no, but he's the best choice for that constituency. So it may never happen. Maybe I've got to create an independent party. I don't know, or somebody will come up with a new party of common sense party would be nice. But I do think that with what's going on up in our country, up here in Canada, that we don't have a leader. We've got a prime minister, but we do not have a leader, and we haven't had the prime minister before him was pretty good, Stephen Harper, just not as charismatic as what this young man is. That's our leader, or no, our prime minister now. So yes. Back to your question, they have passed this Bill 21, I think they call it. I don't know. I had to speak in front of the committee for public safety and national security. And it's about this C-21 bill where they're trying to ban, they were banning my bolt action Weatherby 460. They were banning my side-by-side double 600 Nitro Express. And quote unquote from our prime minister, this law, or this C-21, is designed to remove, or no, that's right. These weapons are designed to kill the maximum amount of people in the minimum amount of time. And that's why he's banning these. Well, it's my side-by-side 600 Nitro Express. It's never killed anybody, at least maybe at the kick end it has, but not at the front bullet side. Bolt action .460 Weatherby, the cartridges cost $40 each. No one's going to use that in a crime, and nor would they. It's too heavy to use anyway. So the laws that they're, little things that are already in place in our country, like a 32 handgun is banned. Well, why is it banned? Because they could. They couldn't ban a 22 rimfire, which is a smaller caliber. They couldn't ban a 38, which is a bigger, more powerful handgun, but they could ban the 32 because very few people had them. So there wasn't enough of an outcry for them to take notice, or for those people to get noticed. So that's what they've done. They're slowly but surely banning every little thing. My air gun was banned. An air gun. Like, how do you ban it? Shoots pellets.
What are you supposed to do? Nothing. Are these things grandfathered in if you already have them, or you have to go down and register or turn them in, or what is?
Nope. Once they're prohibited, they're banned. I don't even know how you take things like that. I just sent south. Once you had a 2-year period where you could deal with them, but once the law is in effect, a prohibited weapon is a prohibited weapon. You're not allowed to possess it. I mean, it's a felony, I guess, is what they would charge you with. So this is where the state of our governance is in terms of firearms. And that same wishy-washy pandering, genuflecting to the urban majority, that's that many of their decisions are being made that way. Not what's best for the country and best for the people that you're supposed to be governing, but best for you to get reelected. And so back to your second part of your question, that's why I think good people eventually have to stand up. It may be unrealistic of me, idealistic, like I say. There's probably no party would even want me to run with them or for them because I come with baggage. They didn't want that. And the mainstream media is going to jump all over that. I'm a hunter. I live a field to table lifestyle. Yes, I'm going to go kill a moose this fall, hopefully. Yes, I'm going to kill it. And, just because I don't hire someone else to kill that cow that you're eating, that makes me a bad person because I want to know. I want to butcher it up myself. I want to know that it's, lived a life that's, and no, nothing against ranchers. I think it's great because there's too many people in this world. You can't all hunt. Ultimately, that's probably what's going to save hunting is it'll become, cool to be a hunter, but they have to limit the number of hunters. Then everybody's going to want to be a hunter. It's world's is what it is. History repeats itself over and over and over again. But yeah, we've got some serious issues up here in terms of firearm because of our prime minister and his ilk.
What's the timeline like? Isn't it? And last time we talked about this, I think there was maybe an election coming up or something. But you have a time, like I forget exactly what it was. But do you now have a year where you're going to have to decide something by if you want to run 4 years out, 3 years out, 2 years out, something like that?
No, yes and no. Ours are a little different than yours. They can go for 5 years. Our prime minister is in right now, not with the majority of the people voted for him, not even close. I could be wrong, but it's somewhere around 30% of the people voted for him. That's it. He's got a coalition government with our NDP, New Democratic Party, which is a fairly left-wing leaning party. So that's how he's maintaining in power. Is he's the NDP is supporting it. So they're voting in line, in lockstep with the Liberals. But so he can stay in power for 5 years. And unlike your government where you're not supposed to run more than 2 years or 2 terms, here he can run as many times as he can be. His dad was prime minister four terms, I believe.
Wow.
So you generally a coalition government like that will fall apart within 2 years. They've already gone 2 years and they're into their 3rd year now, and the NDP are going to get their tails whipped. So they really don't want to lose what power they have right now because they can wag the Liberal dog. And he wags easily, just grab onto his tail and just swing him around. So it's hard to say if there's going to be an election in the next, year, 2 years now, maybe even 3 years down the road. The last one was 2 years ago, and that's when they talked to me about it. I was writing my novel. I was writing Call Me Hunter, and that was my kind of excuse. And out was that I had to do that. And until that was all done, I couldn't really countenance something else. Now,
Right.
my excuse this time will be, well, Call Me Hunter's doing so well that I have to write the sequel.
There you go.
Call Me Hunter, I'm not going to be like John Grisham where I'll write a sequel if there's, everybody goes, I'm not going to read this.
People are going to read it. People are going to read this. There's going to be a significant amount of word of mouth surrounding this novel because it is so good and different and unique. And it's just, there'll be a lot of people talking about this when it hits shelves this October. So that'll be amazing. And what are the effects of was it 2 years now, 3 years now? Everything, like I said, things have turned into one long day with everything going on. But with the bear ban that out of Vancouver and British Columbia, and most people from the city voted for it. How did that went down? Something along those lines a few years ago.
Yeah, that's grizzly bear. The grizzly bear hunting was banned here in British Columbia, even though scientifically there's absolutely no basis for that. Our premier of the province, which would be like your governor, he said something to the effect of it's not because of science, it's because it's socially unacceptable. And but First Nations people can still hunt them. And there's still many grizzly bears being killed for predation reasons by the conservation officers. So and on top of that, it's unintended consequences when grizzly bear studies up in Alaska have shown that the male mature grizzly bear will kill up to 32 calf, moose, and caribou every spring. Just kills them and eats what parts of life, finds another one. They're easy to kill at that time and easy to find. And they just eat the delicacy part of them. So what we're happening now is the grizzly bears numbers are increasing. And of course, that's an exponential increase. There's no predators. They're apex predators. So what are they eating? Well, they're eating all the ungulates, the moose and the cat. Now they're pulling their hair out. Where's all the caribou gone? It will surprise. Where's all the moose gone? Well, gee, it doesn't take a genius to realize that managing wildlife populations by social construct it doesn't work. It's detrimental to all the other wildlife. Yes, you might save that iconic species, but it's doing fine anyway, and it's at carrying capacity. And there's so many people now taking the grizzly bear's space. What did you think was going to happen? Right. Human bear interactions have gone up. So all these, the problem is you don't have a politician. It would be death to a politician, political death, to say, hey, we're reinstating grizzly bear hunting because that was just ridiculous. And this is, people don't want to hear common sense. It would be political suicide to do that. So once you ban something, it's very difficult to unban it.
Yeah. Once those rights are gone, man. And we mentioned the museum a couple times, and I wanted to ask you, you've been doing that for a while. And then do you go out and seek certain things? Do you have a list of things that you want to find, or are people contacting you and say, hey, we have this, and we want to give it to you, or hey, we have this and it's now for sale? Or how have you done this over the years and built the museum up, and how can people support it and come visit?
Well, I mean, it's the Hand of Man Museum of Natural History, Cultural Arts, and Conservation. It's located on Vancouver Island, about an hour north of Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia. But Victoria, the city, is located on Vancouver Island. A lot of people think it's Victoria Island. No, Victoria is the city. So it's an old school. I'm in it right now. This is our edit suite, actually. It's one of the old classrooms. Our kids went to school here. 17,000 square feet, and the museum. I started this museum when I was 10 years old. Same time I started the novel. I knew that I would have a museum someday. I knew I'd write a novel someday. I couldn't write a novel back then because I didn't have the skills, hadn't lived life yet. But for this museum, I could start to collect. My first seashell that I ever collected is here. It's a conch shell. The local church did an offer. If you brought 5 friends to Sunday school, you'd get a conch shell.
Wow.
Now a conch shell in Saskatchewan, Canada, is that's like finding a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton. I mean, they just didn't exist when I was a kid. So I got my 5 friends, went to Sunday school, got my conch shell. It's still in the museum. So that was the start of it. fishing lures I could find in the river at low water. Guys lost them or steal them out of my dad's and grandfather's tackle box. I caught back out of insects and pinned them. Pretty rocks, those were all things that were free. I lived in a trailer park back then. We had no money, so I could, it was pie in the sky, but I could get National Geographic. At that point, I was, Dad and Mom were taking me to the library all the time now because their kid actually could read. So I could get National Geographic, and I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm going to gather this. I want to get that. I want to see that. I want to do all this. And so I basically charted a course for my life to do this museum. And as you travel, Samuel Clemens says, paraphrase, death of ignorance, it opens your mind. And I'd see things that I hadn't thought about before that, wow, but this thing, whatever it is, this object speaks to me. And this is what Call Me Hunter is about. It's that sense of beauty that it's not something you see, it's something you feel. So in all of my travels, and I was 306 days a year on the road for 20 years and over 200 days a year on the road before that, my eyes were always my senses were always open to that feeling. Oh, that there's that thing right there. That's something that, whatever reason, maybe it was a hand-carved mask in Liberia that was carved for ceremonial purposes, or maybe spiritual. Maybe it was just love for somebody. Maybe it was out of a need to produce art. But whatever that is, I would feel it, recognize it, and if I could purchase it. Then I had to go through the process of export and import, which I say half this gray hair is from our daughter, and the other half is from export import. I had a full-time person for 25 years doing just that to do all the paperwork, dot the I's, T's, make sure it's all submitted in time in the proper forms. And they would last about 3-4 years, and then they'd burn out. Just the mind-numbingness of it all, the bureaucracy, the predatory bureaucracy. Another $100 because you forgot to sign in black. Well, now you have to resubmit it. Blah blah blah. So a lot of people saw the television shows Uncharted, where we traveled around the world, the professionals, even hunting adventures, and hunting was, and the conservation was the story behind it. But what I was there doing was actually looking for the art of those countries, whether it was tribal art or primitive art, or whatever struck my fancy in that regard. And I brought it all back. I mean, there's a wedding blanket from Irkutsk in Siberia. It's beaded, a full-size blanket, beaded, every inch is beaded, because I found it in Irkutsk at a market. So that I brought back, and it's folk art. This whole museum, hand of man, everything in here is handmade. Even the taxidermy is artistry by man. We killed the animals. We skinned them. This is all hand. The fossils were dug. Articulated. Which we do a lot of the articulation here, the welding and whatnot. But everything in this museum has spoken to me, and now it's 17,000 square feet, absolutely packed. You can Google it. Call me Hunter. I'm so used to saying Google. Call me Hunter.
Yeah. But do that
Google
too.
But you Google Hand of Man Museum, and you'll see the reviews. I mean, people, for me to get to this room in our museum, there's probably 200 people in the museum today.
Nice.
I had to walk down the hallway, the main hallway, and kids love it because it's iPads, 2 to 3 minute story, not big write-ups they have to read, but a little number. And they just touch it on the iPad, and there's a visual. Okay. I've narrated these, and here's visuals to go along with this, and we tell a 2 to 3 minute story, and you're on to the next piece. Kids love it. They bring their classrooms, 2 to 4 classrooms a week come by. And then on the weekend, the kids all come back with their parents. And the parents are in shock. Like, our kids want to see a museum and want us to come to a museum on a weekend. And then when they walk in and they see what it's about, because it's packed. It's full of everything that fascinated me through my entire life. So I'm 55 years of focus on this goal. And this is a result, is our Hand of Man Museum. We've had national newspaper articles on it. And you know what? There's, 200 full body mounts in here, skulls and skeletons of all kinds of creatures and animals. There's full-size skeletons of dinosaurs too, and woolly mammoths and woolly rhinos. But there's no protesting of it. Read the reviews. You get one person out of 1,000 that just, of course, ideologically, it doesn't fit. It's cognitive dissonance. They go, makes their head explode, so they got to fight it and hate it, rather than, well, maybe there's another way to look at my perspective should change. So they, but the vast majority of the people love it. The kids love it. And there's dead animals, but there's, the conservation is the education component of it. And they start, they come out and say, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about lions. You kill the one lion and the village gets $100,000, and that way they'll buy all the sheep and goats and cows that lion killed. So they can replace them, and they still get a new school and new roads, and they can pay the town councilors or whatever they have. So that, or they don't get any money for that lion. It kills the goat and sheep, so they kill the whole pride, and the lions are gone. Gone, extirpated from, gone. So people learn that, and it gives them another chance to learn something new that the mainstream media is, again, bad news sells for $2, good news sells for $1. So they always take the worst point of view they can possibly take about any topic, and hunters, of course, we get the brunt of it. So this museum allows people to see both sides. And it's been, we had over 26,000 visitors last year. We'll hit 30,000 this year, and like I said, we're giving it all away to a foundation, so it'll be here for 40 years. We'll cover expenses with an endowment.
Incredible.
We can, so we should.
Amazing. I see behind you SCI in the background, Safari Club International. They moved from it was Vegas and then Reno, and then now it's Nashville, and I missed it this year. I was just too busy writing. Hope to get there this coming year, but we'll see. But I heard they had a great show there. I always look forward to going to SHOT Show or DSC or SCI so I can see you. So really hoping to get to Nashville this year. Also behind you, got a little Hornady behind you, Leupold we talked about earlier. Christensen Arms. I have my first 2 Christensen Arms rifles in the safe behind me here, in the Fort Knox safe behind me.
Oh, good, yeah.
And somebody, I don't have optics on them yet, but I'm going to get those set up, I think, in the next week or 2. So get those set up and sighted in. But they're nice. Just looking at them and running the action, and those things are nice. And how long have you been using Christensen Arms?
I think about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I had, I was with Nosler before, and Nosler, they produced a gun, and I used it, and I don't know what happened, but they sort of have fallen off the radar. So at that point, I was free to choose, and because Nosler, I kind of it came along with their bullets, because I was using their bullets for years before that. And then when I looked at all the guns out in the marketplace, I chose Christensen Arms because I like the gun. I love it. I mean, I have it in my hands here, and on the 31st of this month, God willing, that I can get up to our Yukon area, I'll have my Christensen Arms. I'll just be at home. And I'm shooting Nosler, or I'm shooting Hornady now. They're fabulous. I mean, Steve and that whole crew is they're just such great people, and I've known them for 40 years. I could have gone either way back in the day, and eventually things end up like they should. And I'm with Hornady now. Bass Pro, Cabela, Johnny Morris actually, and John Paul Morris will be coming up to my personal camp in the Yukon in September. I won't give exact dates, but they'll be up there in my camp.
Very cool.
It's just good people in our industry, and to get together at SCI's national convention every year. The SHOT Show is pretty big, like that for me. That when you were talking about the days, I remember SHOT Show back '84.
Wow.
I mean, it was a lot, mostly hunting. It was just, and then now it's such a massive show. People that haven't been, I mean, it's shocking. I mean, what used to be 7 miles if you walked up and down each aisle, I don't even know what it would be now, because there's many level floors and
it's impossible to see everything. And it's but I think my first one was even after the wars kicked off. I think my first one, I want to say, was 2000. 3 maybe. Anyway, right in there, it was still at that time a lot of hunting and fishing. And there was a room that was a large room, but certainly not what it is today, that was tactical. And then I think the next year I went back, let's say by 2004, 5, then it was certainly tactical focus. Yeah, it exploded. And, you know, a lot of companies have a hand in both worlds, and it's just a great place to meet people and to build these, you know, genuine relationships, because you are there for preserving these rights for the next generation. So it's more than just, you know, going to, I don't know, let's say, nothing against Consumer Electronics Show, but okay, fine. But you're preserving something that is so primal to our species, and you're preserving that for future generations. So there's just something different about that, I think, than other communities that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all kindred spirits, and I just can't believe that the vast majority of people out there don't believe the same things that we do. Somehow we've been separated. You know, there's well, you're this and you're that, but we all stand for the same things. We just may be the people that, well, you go protect those rights. I mean, that's what you did, and that show is filled with people like that, and so you're, like I say, kindred spirits. It doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you're on in terms of the outdoors, or whether it's tactical. We all feel the same way. We all have the same beliefs. We know that freedom, well, who said that isn't free? And you know, so I think it's a great melding of two worlds that are really the same world. Yeah. I just wish the rest of the people that poo-poo that or you know, never the twain shall meet, if they would just come and see that, you know, it's not louts that spit on the floor, no higher sensibilities. These are smart people that are, you know, doing good work to make sure that you can protest or do whatever you're doing. I mean, I think the SHOT Show it's an amazing show. It speaks to a vast audience, and and I think a much larger audience that doesn't even know it exists, or that world really exists. But if you go there, it's impressive. SCI, same thing. You know, for the hunting, it was in Nashville this year. Fantastic. Nashville.
So I heard it was like the best show they've had in a long time. I heard.
Yeah, it was such a great show. The people that were there, and the community. I mean, Nashville is Nashville. It's a big place, but it still feels like it's a community with a sense of I don't know, civic duty and honor. It was just good all the way around. I called up Laird Hamberlin, one of the top honchos at SCI, after, and I said, whatever you got to do, you know, like, my vote is, you know, buy us out of every contract for whatever other place we have to go in the future, and let's stay at Nashville. Yeah, it was a great show. Vegas, you know, when Vegas was at Vegas, it was okay. I mean, I don't know, were you ever at the Outdoor Channel Awards, when right beside it the same night was the porno awards for
I don't know what you're talking industry. About. Never.
Oh yeah. But they had us
at SHOT they would have that. Yeah, at SHOT they would have the Golden Moose Awards. Yeah, SHOT.
SHOT. That's right. It was at SHOT.
Somebody told me that anyway.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was pretty awkward. We're all there in black ties, and
so
right
funny.
on the other side of the, you know, pretty flimsy curtain, there was all the porno people going by. Oh gosh. But I mean, crazy. Vegas, that's Vegas, right? That's Vegas. You don't have that problem in Nashville. Nashville is just a good, homey. I like it. You know, everybody in Nashville. I mean, I'm going to have to start getting serious about liking Nashville music now, after spending so much time there.
Yeah, no, it's great. I remember they had the NRA was there it's probably a decade now. Like I said, everything's blending. But when it was in Reno for SCI, I spoke at a couple different events, and it was just so spread out in Reno. Like I don't think I got the hotel in time, so I was 20 minutes away somewhere, and it was so Vegas was good in that you could stay at 3 hotels connected to the facility right there, so you didn't have to go anywhere else. You could be right there. And Nashville, similar, that way that was set up, they did a really good job, I think, bringing conventions to that city. It's all close by. You can walk to the bars and restaurants and the whole thing. They did a good job with that. So hopefully I'm going to get there this year with my wife and our youngest, who by that time will be 13, and he's been to Africa. He's been to Lanai, of course, and Texas. So I'd like to get him out to SCI to wander up and down those aisles and meet some of the people that I've gotten the privilege to know over the years. So if I'm done with this book and we're not filming the origin story prequel series with Taylor Kitsch somewhere because of the writer's strike, then I'll be in Nashville. But we'll see. We'll see.
Hey everyone, Andy Stumpf here, the host of the Ironclad Original Change Agents podcast. In addition to producing podcasts like Change Agents, Danger Close with Jack Carr, Oil and Whiskey with Roadster Shop, and others, Ironclad also works with some of the world's biggest brands like Mechanics Wear, Under Armour, the Navy SEAL Foundation, Anthem, and a ton of others to create industry-leading custom film series, commercials, podcasts, and more. We can also get your message in front of an audience of millions by placing it on podcasts and series just like this one. To check out more about Ironclad and see how they can help you elevate your company, brand, or business, check out thisisironclad.com. Thisisironclad.com.
Well, hopefully you get there. We got to get together with John Dubin.
Yes.
Go for sushi or something.
Let's do it. Yeah, JD is on Lanai right now. I was just texting him, I guess it was last night, and the fires are right there on Maui when we're recording this. This podcast will drop in October, the same week that the book comes out, but as we're recording it right now in August, Maui's having the fires and the total, just so devastating. So he's over there right now on Lanai and can see that, can smell the smoke, and I'll debrief with him a little more this evening. But he's what a good dude. And Pineapple Brothers Lanai is rocking and rolling out there. And I know I'm so glad you and your family got to go out and experience that and have Tex. I think Tex, the chef from Nobu, came up and made some things for you guys and brought some wine and all that. So
yes, so it was so good. I mean, he came right to our place there and chefed. I mean, that was the first one. Sovi. I'm not a chef. I mean, a can of beans and a wiener, and that's about what I'm. My capabilities, but it was so good. Yeah. Hopefully, he's still there. We'll get back there someday. I mean, COVID hit, and then it's been rough for us for this last almost 2 years now. So we haven't been doing a lot of traveling, but hopefully, God willing, in the future, we'll be back down there as a family. I loved it.
Special spot.
One of these days we have to get together on a hunt.
I know. I need to. Awesome. We talked about getting to Vancouver, and then everything got all but I need to. We'll make it happen. We have to make it happen. It'd be very unnatural not to do something together like that. I can't believe we haven't.
Yeah, but I mean, look what has gone on in your life. Even for you to spend this much time on a podcast, you're probably going right to the next thing right after. So
that's how it goes these days.
Really, and I know we've been blabbering about me this whole time. I had a zillion questions. Like I want to hear like all your stuff. Like I got to get you on my show, so at least I can ask. I know my stuff already. I don't want to know about that. I want to know about your stuff. Like, who gets to do that? You wrote out of your head a novel that got turned into a series. And with one of the biggest actors around, and you got to hang with all these. I got a billion questions I want to know. Like, that's just super cool. But I mean, obviously, you're on other podcasts and talking about you, and I appreciate your blabbering about me here today. But gosh, I want to hear your stuff. Like,
oh man,
how cool is Chris?
Oh, he's awesome. Actually, we just we were on the phone for about an hour yesterday together, just talking about strategizing on the way ahead, because the writer's strike really has put us behind on this next show, this origin story for the Ben Edwards character played by Taylor Kitsch. And we got the first 5 of the 7 scripts done right before the writer's strike. About a minute before the writer's strike hit at midnight, we sent those 5 scripts in, and so 2 more to write once the writer's strike is over. But everything keeps creeping to the right here, and so by the time this podcast drops, hopefully the writer's strike will be over and they will have resolved some of these issues. But they're big issues that they're dealing with out there for those writers in Hollywood right now, both the streaming side of the house and artificial intelligence side of the house. And so we'll see. But Chris is fantastic, and I can't say enough good things about him. He's a guy's guy. And somebody you want to sit down and have a beer with, have a whiskey with, have a coffee with, someone you want to go afield with, very competent, very capable, extremely wise, and obviously funny. People know that, but I don't think they know how smart he really is. So anyway, yeah, we got plans. We have some plans, but we'll see what happens with the writer's strike. But these scripts that are coming in now, because now Amazon has seen, they won't share the numbers, but they know the numbers. Now we'll have a little more trust built up. Whereas the first time, they don't know, it's a new show and we don't know this audience, and okay. And so this time, now I think there's a little more political capital built up, and these scripts these first 5 that we sent in right before the writer's strike, they are good. They are really good, and I am super excited to continue working on it as soon as the strike's over. But until then, I'll be working on book 7, getting as far into that as I can before I go back to scripts.
How does that work? Like, I'm sorry, I know it's your podcast, but
no, go ahead.
But I want to know. So you wrote Terminal List, but you don't write the script too? Like,
no, I mean, I guess you could at some point, but no, the way it worked in this case, and I think every case is a little bit different. So in this case, Chris Pratt optioned it. He read it, loved it. Jared Shaw, my SEAL buddy, gave it to Chris and said, "Here's your next project." Chris read it and then called that first week when we were together in January of 2018 before the book hit shelves in March of 2018. So once he gets it, so now he has the option. And then he has to he has all these options and opportunities. So he could have, and I don't know if this is the case with him, but let's say an actor or a production company or a director or a producer might have bought all these different ones. And then now they have to prioritize and figure out which ones, because you only have so much bandwidth and so much time, and you have to figure out which ones you're going to allocate your resources towards. So luckily for me, Chris loved the material and was passionate about it and wanted to do this. So that was step 1. Step 2 is that he wanted me involved, because a lot of times they option something from an author and they want to get rid of that author right away, because now you don't want that author on set saying, "You ruined my vision," because it's a different medium through which you're telling a story. So it's an adaptation, meaning it's not exactly word for word what's in the book going on screen, because you have a certain number of hours, you have a budget, you have production constraints via location or other things. So it has to fit into these, in that case, 8 hours, and it has to be 8 episodes, and you have to have this through line. And maybe there's too many characters, because if you had all the characters from a book into a show, all you do is introduce all these characters and there wouldn't be time for anything else. So maybe it's a book with one person in it, and now that's not really going to work in a show with 8 episodes. So I think every situation is a little bit different, but in this case, Chris and I was also lucky that Antoine Fuqua wanted it at the same time, and he's the director that I wanted. And him and Chris happen to be friends. So when Antoine found out that Chris was after it, Antoine called Chris and said, "Let's do this together." So on a handshake deal, they said, "Let's do this together." So Antoine is an executive producer and director, and those two then found the showrunner. And in series television, the showrunner is like a director of a movie, because a showrunner has multiple directors to deal with, and that showrunner has to run a writer's room, because you're bringing in a certain number of people and they're getting assigned an episode. And this is just this case. Like if it's Taylor Sheridan, maybe Taylor Sheridan is writing every episode because of the political capital he's built up with Paramount Plus and whatever else he has going on out there. But in this case, we have a different writer for each episode. In one case, it was a writing team of 2 people. So you bring all these people together, they all read the novel, and then you storyboard this thing out, you outline this thing out, you send those outlines up the chain. In this case, because Chris and Antoine wanted me involved, I read them all, I advised on every script, on every outline, but it goes up through me, through Chris, through Antoine, all the way up to the top of Amazon Studios, and then back down with notes. And then the writer's room takes those and either incorporates those notes or comes back with reasons why they don't want to incorporate those notes. And so you get those scripts to a place, and here's timelines, because now things are moving forward, and you have a start date. So you got to get these scripts approved and the best they can possibly be by the first day of filming. And then during filming, things get adapted along the way because let's say Taylor Kitsch brings something totally different to the character and elevates it, which means, okay, that's going to change scripts for episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's just a very dynamic process. And I loved every part of that. I was a sponge. I was learning. So this next time around, I'm writing the finale, both to this origin story prequel series and then to True Believer, the second novel as well. So I've been learning a lot this last few years.
And that's why the writers are, because I can, well, just write yourself, but that's not how it works. So you got to have a team of writers and it's a different skill set. I mean, writing the story obviously is yours, but they have to work with the bones of yours, but to create it for TV. So, okay, I get why it's so important to have the writers and why they're on strike. And the AI, what does AI have to do with anything? Like, it figures out what.
So you could say, let's say an executive can say, let's take the TV show Friends, instead of having writers come up with or create it and then write the scripts, someone can just say, hey, you know what? I think we need a comedy on NBC that comes on at, let's say, 8 o'clock at 9 o'clock on Thursday. How about let's do some Friends put together in New York, 3 guys, 3 girls, put a coffee shop in there. Okay, AI, take those characters, take that input and write a funny script that is 22 minutes long. Go. And AI, with everything that it's sifting through, spits out a script. And maybe that script isn't horrible. Maybe it is, and you give it some more other instructions. Write another one, make it more funny, make it less funny, make it move it to Chicago, move it to San Francisco, move it whatever you're going to give it, and then it does it for you. So instead of having people around a table talking and creating and building off each other's past experiences and all the rest of it, now you have a computer that's free doing that. So that's one of the issues is how AI is going to be used in Hollywood, because it can possibly in the future put these writers out of business. Perhaps. We'll see. Early stages.
Wow. That's why, I mean, I've heard it on the news, but I'm trying to figure out how does that all affect that? So I mean, ultimately they're not going to be able to fight against AI. That's coming. So there'll be, what they'll have to do is have like the clean Olympics and the dirty Olympics. So there'll be the AI network where it's all fake computer generated nothing, and then real people one. There's no way you could not create Laverne and Shirley or Lucille Ball. You cannot create that if you're a computer. Tell me it's not possible.
Yeah, or you get close, or maybe you get something that you can work with now. And now instead of having, let's say, 10 writers in a writer's room or 8 or 6 coming up with these things, now you have one editor who tweaks what AI spit out or something along those lines. So that, I think that's what they're working through. I'm not exactly sure because obviously I'm not in there in the negotiations, and but I think it's something along those lines. So it's really the first industry that I know of that's tackling AI as a union, essentially, and trying to put some things in place to manage it, because you're right, AI is here and it's going to be incorporated some way, shape, or form into many industries, but this is the first one to really tackle it. And so it's going to be interesting what precedents are set over the next, I don't know, day, months, however long it takes them to come to an agreement and resolutions. But it's going to impact all of us in some way, shape, or form, probably positives and negatives. But it's going to be very interesting in telling what this first industry and this first union to tackle AI, what comes out of it. So we'll see. And by the time this drops, maybe it'll all be worked out and people will be rolling their eyes at whatever I'm saying or saying I was way off base or something. It's possible. So this will get dropped, mid-October.
Yeah, it'll be kind of cool to see what's going on. I mean, I read in your last one, I think your last 2, you mentioned the big supercomputer.
Yeah, the quantum computer. Yep.
Yeah, what was her
Alice.
name?
Alice. So Alice is coming back here. Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I thought that I was going, I want more of Alice.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
I mean, yeah, I thought that was that's kind of cool. Like some all-knowing, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
Those exist. Quantum computers exist, and people can Google quantum computer and look it up. I describe it in the novel as a golden Medusa type of a thing. And when you look it up, if you put in quantum computer into the search bar, you'll see what I mean. Then it's not doesn't look like the computer that we're used to picturing when someone says computer, or envisioning when someone says computer. But I would be shocked because when you're dealing with things that have, or people who have been in the national security side of things and have clearances or have worked in that space for a long time, they are very hesitant to tell you too much. And both for The Devil's Hand, where I went into bioweapons and bioweapons defense research, and when I went into this AI realm with In the Blood, I interviewed a lot of people, and they'll each give you a little morsel. And by itself, it's not much. Yeah, but if you interview enough people and they all drop a different morsel, then you can start putting that puzzle together, putting that composite together. And I would be shocked if what I describe, particularly in the blood, or in the blood, where I introduce Alice, if that facility that I describe is much different than I describe in the book. I'd be shocked if it was too different from that. So
I love it, because again, it's what I did in Call Me Hunter. I took reality and just wove a story through it, but it's there. It's all there. Anybody can go look it up. Same with yours. I mean, it's pretty cool. This whole creative process. What was it? Willa Cather said, creative or desire is the instrument of creativity. I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
And if you could measure desire, you could measure achievement.
Oh, interesting.
And that's so it's pretty cool how your stories have come in. I mean, it's almost sci-fi, but it's not sci-fi because it's reality. I just, like I say, I love reading about that. I thought that was a great addition to those books.
You.
And I'm really, if she's back, I'm going to be even more excited.
Coming back. I'll drop that hint. Coming back in this next one, in book 7 that I'm working on right now. But the artificial intelligence thing, especially the way I describe it in that novel, the people that I talked to, almost to a person who worked in that space, said they could tell me more, but it would put my book in the science fiction category. And so that's a little bit scary.
Yeah. That
told me a lot. It wasn't just one person. It was multiple people said the same thing. So imagine what I wrote in that book, and imagine it at the next level that would put it into what we think of as science fiction, because a lot of science fiction, as we know, well, now we have put people on the moon or into orbit or underneath the ocean in a submarine or in a balloon, whatever it might be. A lot of those things have come to fruition.
Pretty cool, being a novelist. I mean, I
love it every day.
Jules Verne.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Like here's the future, and you're writing about it. And I mean, what's real, what's not. Anyway, I'm just thrilled to be, I wouldn't say shoulder to shoulder with you, but at least, somewhere in the audience looking at you on the stage there. But in that audience, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, Dad, I am so excited. One, that the book was so amazing when I read it, and it was a relief also, because you know how much I respect you. And I was, oh man, not only am I relieved, but wow, this is something special. So to have Call Me Hunter coming out on October 17th of this year, hardcover, ebook, audiobook for the audiobook listeners. I'm sure there's the audio dropping the same day, all available for pre-order wherever anybody gets their books. I'm so excited for people. I'm excited to read. I stopped reading my reviews. I read them for the first, ones and first, just because I was curious, that sort of a thing. But for me now, it's all about the story. But I am excited to read what people think of this, because I am so curious, and I know it's going to be next level, and it's going to blow people away, especially if they know a little bit about you. By the way, I saw the picture you posted the other day. What are you holding? It's like a giant squid you're wrestling in some very short shorts.
Yeah. You mean awesome, sexy short shorts?
I think those were your words in the post.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of social media. I can make fake news. Yeah, maybe they weren't quite so sexy. That was a 125-pound octopus I caught just about a mile and a half from our house here on Vancouver Island. I was with the kids, actually. They were young in those days, and it was just them and I and our little boat, and all of a sudden my rod went, oh, and I go, what is this? I said, oh, and I knew it was something, but it's not like any fish. And then I finally, as it was coming up from 200 feet, I realized, well, the only thing that could be doing that is, an octopus. But this thing has to be, when it started coming up from the depths, and it's all spread out wide, it was like, are you kidding me? It was like 15 feet across the arms, maybe even more than that. And so I got him up high enough. I tried to grab onto my jig, my cod jig. Yeah. And so I got my hands underneath its mantle, and I had the kids in the very front of the boat. It's not a big boat. And I slopped this thing, and tentacles were going every which way. And I had a big giant cooler, because we used to fish for our food. I mean, I didn't. This wasn't about catch and release. I was fishing for food, and I got the mantle of the head in, and then the arms. I was beating on the arms trying to get them in. The suckers every which way, and they actually pull off if they get stuck on something. So I finally got it into the cooler. It slopped in there, and I locked the cooler, put the locks down. I said, kids, we got to go. I didn't know what to do with an octopus. I'd never caught one like that big. So I was racing for home, and all of a sudden the kids started screaming, and I looked back, and the thing had busted open. The lock was out in the back of the hole, starting to slop all over the boat again. So and you see from the picture the size of the darn thing. Yeah. It was massive. I mean, literally, can't describe how big it was. And finally got him back into the cooler, and I mean, I don't know. People say they're really intelligent. It's a mollusk. I mean, so it's for me it was food then, and it's still, I love pulpul or whatever they call it, octopus. I love it. So it's I catch them all the time out here when we're prawning, but never one that big again. That was the biggest one I ever caught.
Yeah, if people go to your Instagram and look at that, it's you're not a small guy. You're a tall, and this thing is huge, so you can tell that this thing is gigantic in that photo.
No one's gonna notice me. They're gonna notice my shorty shorts. And,
there's that.
I think I also posted about tidy whities. I think that was my post. Am I the only one that's really happy that shorty shorts and tidy whities are coming?
They are. I heard that they're coming back. It's a thing, which is good for you. You can pull out those old shorts again.
Oh my goodness, that was I met my wife in 1984, Louise. I was thinking to myself, where do you meet, pretty girls? And I 26 years old, finally, after all those years, it hit me, well, you go to a dance studio, there's got to be girls there. So I went to the dance studio, but I'd never been to a dance. It was advanced ballet jazz, and I didn't know the teacher or anything. And I wore shorty shorts, and I had them split up the side, so just up at the band even, and a little white muscle shirt on, and I married the dance instructor 6 months later. So anyone that's listening that is poo-pooing shorty shorts, let me tell you something, they work. Yeah, it had to be that. It sure wasn't my personality.
Oh, stop it! Well, I think do you have a picture from that day, or is it? There's a black and white one that you posted not too long ago. I think if people scroll down, there's early on.
Which one of?
I don't know if it was your first date. Maybe you said maybe it was a first date. I don't know. Maybe you're not. Maybe it's not the first time you met, but maybe it's a first date picture. That's
first date.
Yeah. So that's in there.
We posted that. Yeah, that's and just about of all the responses, you could pretty well distill them to one comment, which is, I way out kicked my coverage. What is it? Married my station or whatever. Yeah, right. It's always the same. Yeah. Like, or is she blind is another one.
Yeah. No, those are great when you post those pictures. It's fantastic. And if people do go through them, they'll notice connections to this book.
Yeah, well, that's right. If they go, I mean, I think I've posted 6,000 posts over the years. So if somebody wants to dig that deep, but like I say, when we talked about the novel right off the bat, I hope somebody with a lot of money, go ahead, Google it, figure it out, talk to the people I mentioned, and you remember that? They're going to remember. It's just, is it true, or what's true? If that happened, what's not true then? Right. So that's my hope, is that, like quicksand, they just get, the more they fight against this possibly being true, the deeper they get sucked into it.
Yeah. That's what makes it so fun. That's what makes it so fun as well, because people will be questioning what's true, what isn't, what are whispers of truth, and what's all made up. So, yeah, very cool. Call Me Hunter, October 17th of this year. So this podcast will drop that week. I think it will drop this on the 18th, and yeah, publication week. So, man, Jim, congratulations again on this. I can't just tell you how excited I am for you and for everyone who's going to read this.
Well, that's greatly appreciated. You were an instrumental part of it. I was trying to get it into Emily's hands for months, and literally it took like you just saying read it. And as I said at the beginning, novelists don't do that for other novelists because, as you know, there's not a lot of great writing out there. If there is, it doesn't always cross our desks. And for you to do that, you're taking a big chance. You took a big chance on supporting that and telling her, like you said, you did that one time, and it means more to me. Like, I can't repay it, because it's been a dream since I was 10 years old, but I can pay it forward. There'll be other people. If I ever get the opportunity to do good with any voice that I'm given in the future, I promise I will live up to that example that you set, doing that for me. It's just, thank you.
Well, I mean, you've done a lot more than you'll ever know for those of us who venture afield, and that is sincerely appreciated as well. That example, those shows, you mentioned Uncharted earlier. I meant to mention it earlier as well. Gosh, what an amazing show you guys did. All of them have been fantastic. And I like how they all, just like with anything, you always want to do something a little different and a little quote unquote better. Of course, better being subjective, of course, but you always want to elevate. And yeah, Uncharted's amazing. So everybody can go back and find those, and then check out Shock Therapy as well, which is going on right now.
Yeah, we have Shock Therapy. We actually up here in Canada produce another show called Yukon Harvest. It's about the Indigenous people up here and getting back to the land. That show airs on the Aboriginal People's Television Network. So it's pretty well all First Nations people. And we produce that. And another one coming out in this next year is called Coastal Carvers. And that is also about First Nations carvers. You guys call them Native Americans. So we're pretty tied in, which you'll see in Call Me Hunter, into the Indigenous societies here up in Canada and culture.
That's amazing. I'm going to have to check those out. I didn't know those were one out and one coming down the pike. So, yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. I mean, you're always busy. You're never not busy. But, man, thank you for spending time tonight. I really hope we can link up at very least at SCI. And do you know anything about your book tour yet? Have you done it? Have you gotten any advance notice? Because people should, if when they hear this, they should definitely check out. You'll be posting about it as well, I am sure, about book tour or whatever else you're doing, to let people know this is out there.
Yeah, I think we're actually working with Cabela's and Bass Pro.
Nice.
So I believe I'm going to be going to about 10 of their stores and doing appearances, and I believe they're carrying the novel in 135 of their stores. Awesome. Which is, they've never sold novels before, so this is a first. I just saw the mock-ups and some kind of I don't know, table display thing. So it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that because I love the Cabela's family. I've known forever, and John Paul and Johnny Morris are wonderful, wonderful people. I'll be with them this fall in my own hunting camp, and I've known them for years. Was at the opening of their Wonders of Wildlife.
Yeah, the museum or the Where is that one again? Where is that one again?
Springfield, Missouri. And it's won like best aquarium in North America for, I think, 2 or 3 years running. It's crazy how popular and how respected that Wonders of Wildlife Museum and aquarium is. It's worth going. Anybody listening, you got to go check it out. Yeah. So and I'll probably be doing an appearance there as well. I just want to, one way or another. Yeah. So I know that's in the works. Cool. I know I'm supposed to be centered out of our home in Pinehurst, North Carolina for at least a couple weeks in October. But I this book tour stuff is above my pay grade. So I'm going to have to I'll be giving you a call saying,
Perfect.
what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, no, we can talk. It's fun. I love them because it's the chance to shake hands and look people in the eye and say thank you for spending time in the pages of this novel that you're never going to get back, for trusting me with that time. So that's something I take extremely seriously. So I do love Book Tour because you get to say thank you in person, and I try to say thank you on social channels as much as I can, or just through whatever I'm putting out there, which I hope adds value to people's lives throughout the year. But to shake hands in person and look people in the eye and say thank you is a special thing. So you'll have a great time on Book Tour. Yeah, it'll be great.
I'm looking forward to it. I remember seeing you after Terminalist at SHOT Show. After it came out, I was walking down the aisle, and there's a big long lineup all the way around, like way down the aisle. I go, who the heck is this guy? Like, who is it? As I got closer, I realized it was you. So, and I was going to stand in line. And I thought,
you walked by.
2 hours waiting.
That was fantastic. We got to link up. I took a picture. Yeah, that was really cool. That was really cool that you did that. And that was awesome. I have a picture. I posted it, and that was really cool of you to do that. That was awesome. I remember exactly what SHOT Show that was, and that was I appreciated it big time.
Well, it's amazing to see how well you've done. Your success. All of us bask in your limelight. You're one of us, and look how successful. I mean, you got shows on mainstream media. You've cracked that the wall that was blocking us from ever getting in there. You cracked it, and that's allowed me to get my head in there too now. And if I can crack it open and make that a bigger hole and let the world know how, really respected and worthy people that think like us are, and how intelligent and how capable we are, creative. Yeah, I think it's going to be a better world because of you cracking that. I truly do. Cracking that, I call it a wall, taking one brick out of the wall, whatever you did, and allowed me to get through too. And I promise I'll bust through as much as I can. And it's wonderful to be part of your success, even if it's a little remotely and it's not my own glory. It really, all of us, you're ours, whether you want to know that or not. You're ours. So I brag you up. There's not a day goes by I don't brag you up and drop your name. And,
thank you.
Yeah, look how cool I am because I know this guy. and all of us, every single one of us are, and everyone out there that's listening to this for the first time, read these books. They're cool. I remember my son and I, Brandon, read Terminalist. Like I read it, and you got to read this, and then we're all James Reese. We're going to be, how cool are we? And it's really, really special and difficult what you've accomplished. Congratulations, every which way.
Well, I appreciate that, and that congratulations goes both ways, because this is out there, and my gosh, everything you've done over your lifetime that's made it into these pages and behind you on the wall through the TV shows with your family. Man, I got to tell you, it's an inspiration to me and countless others. So thank you for everything.
Mutually, right back at you. You always do your best, and that's no regrets if you do it. Live your life that way.
Appreciate that. And be sure to tell Brandon congratulations tonight when you do the show, and him on the guitar. And please give everybody my very best, my love, a hug, and hopefully we'll be seeing all of you soon.
Sounds good to me. We'll get you on my shock therapy, because I got a billion questions.
Let's do it.
I'm serious. I gotta learn more about it, because we blabbered about me. I feel bad about that. But anyway, next time we'll refocus on you, and I want to learn more, as do all of us. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely. And once again, Call Me Hunter. It is out right now when this drops. So pick this thing up. You will not be disappointed. I'm so excited. Call Me Hunter. Jim Shockey. It's out there right now. Jim, take care. And thanks again.
Good. Thanks a lot, John. Appreciate it.
I've been a fan of Black Rifle Coffee Company since their inception. I love when veterans leave the military and pursue their passion. In this case, coffee. The coffee is fantastic, And as an added benefit, the company is built on quality, patriotism, and giving back to the veteran and first responder communities. I've been a subscriber to the BRCC Coffee Club for years and love it. My favorite is Silencer Smooth. It gets delivered every single month. The Black Rifle Coffee Club. Being part of the club gives you the power to elevate your coffee experience to the next level. The Black Rifle Coffee Club puts you in the driver's seat. You pick the texture and the roast you want, the frequency you want it delivered, and the quantity. You get to completely personalize your club orders, ensuring that your favorite coffee is sent to your door exactly how you want it, when you want it. Right now, Black Rifle Coffee is offering an exclusive opportunity for new Coffee Club members. Join today and enjoy 30% off your first order when you use the discount code DANGERCLOSE at checkout. That's right, 30% off just for being a part of our growing coffee community. Remember to use the discount code DANGERCLOSE at checkout. Welcome to the gear highlight portion of the Danger Close podcast. First off, thank you to Badass Workbench for this amazing workbench table desk. That's badass-workbench.com. Great group of people over there, so be sure and check them out. And thank you to Fort Knox Safes. Loving this safe here in the corner, so check them out as well. And from the safe is this very special gift that I got to commemorate the launch of my latest novel, Only the Dead, from my dear friends Gavi and Katie. Thank you both so much. So what is in here? Well, I'll tell you. Look at that pistol right there. So it's the Masada, and it is from Israel Weapon Industries. And why is this significant? Well, one, because I am very difficult to shop for, and two, because Israel plays such a vital role in my last two books. So check that out right there, the Masada, and look what they did. Oh yeah, crossed tomahawks right there, and also right there. So thank you so much. This is amazing, and thank you so much for the notes that you included in this package. Really meant the world to me, so thank you. All right, what else? Right here, Allegiance Flag Supply. This is a Jack Carr edition right here. You can go to my website, officialjackcarr.com, to find these. But what is significant about Allegiance Flag Supply? Well, they are 100% made in the USA. So check them out for sure, whether it's on my website or not. Very cool to have American flags made in the USA. You think most would be, but Allegiance Flag Supply, made in the USA. Very cool. Speaking of made in the USA, Origin, Maine. Right here, this is the Raptor camo right here, dirt to shirt, made in the USA. Check them out and everything they have going on right here. This is a Cross Tomahawks edition. Last year, these went fast. By the time this video drops, they might be gone already, but check them out for sure. Origin, Maine, and this one will be on my website, officialjackcarr.com. Click on shop in the upper right-hand corner. Check out the shirt, the flag, and everything else on the site. So very cool. Jocko, Pete, Kip, you guys are crushing it. And what else here? Headlamps. Can't have too many headlamps. This is a Petzl. It's a very small one. They are in all vehicles, backpacks, drawers. A lot of Petzl headlamps around here. The kids always get another one in their stocking every year for Christmas. But check them out. Petzl headlamps, always good to have on hand. And Swiss Army knife. So right here, I got this Swiss Army knife recently, and I got it at the same store that my dad got one for me when I think I was about 8 years old. And I got the same model that my dad got me for my youngest child. And right here, the same store, same model, and the same sheath right here. So very cool that place is still in business. And once again, Swiss Army knives, I think just everybody needs one. And it was really cool of me to find this in that same store and then be able to give it to my son, just like my dad gave me one all those years ago. So Swiss Army knives, very cool. And what is this? A Tiffany's box? Yes, it is. But this was a gift for being the spotlight guest at Thriller Fest this year, which is you could call it a writer's convention. But anyway, I recommend anybody who is trying to get something published, go to Thriller Fest. They have a bunch of very cool seminars, panels, and they have this thing called agent speed dating, where you can go from one agent to the next to give your pitch. And I know a few people who have gotten books published that way. So as the spotlight guest, it was very cool to be on stage with Brad Thor for a panel, and then also at dinner to sit with Michael Connolly, who created Harry Bosch. And Michael Connolly, if you haven't read his stuff, you can start right at the beginning with The Black Echo, and he's just an incredible guy, and it was such an honor to spend some time with him. Very cool. But Thriller Fest, because I was a spotlight guest, gave me a pen, and I do love pens, so they gave me this one with JC on it right there. So thank you to everyone at Thriller Writers and Thriller Fest for such a great event, and very, very cool. So check them out. And what is this? Andrew Arabito half-face blades. Jeez, I ordered this about a decade ago. No, just kidding, not that long ago. But it just seems that way because every time Beto does a knife drop, these things are gone so quickly. They are works of art, but they are also tools to be used. So very cool, Beto right there, and matching. So you remembered. Look at that. So got the matching hawk and blade right there. So half-face blades. Follow him on the social channels. And Beto, thank you. These things are awesome. Absolutely love this. That's just a work of art. So cool. Keep crushing, brother. All right. What else? The Outdoorsmans. Go to outdoorsmans.com. Check out what they have going on. And if you don't have an Outdoorsmans tripod, you definitely need one. You need all the attachments. And right here, they made this for me. This is a bino attachment right here. And a bino adapter, and they put the cross tomahawks on it right there. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but yeah, bino adapter from the Outdoorsmans, outdoorsmans.com, and such a great group of people down there. Absolutely love my tripod, love all the accessories, and this is just too cool that they did that. So thank you guys so much. And the presentation box, oh yeah, next level. That is very cool, and thank you for the kind note right here as well. So outdoorsmans.com. Cannot wait to put this to use. And thank you guys. Last, protein sticks from First Form. 20 grams of protein in these bad boys. And yeah, these are fueling me through my 7th novel that I am writing right now. So very cool there. All right. I think that's it. Take care out there. Thank you for tuning in to the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. To find out more about what Jim Shockey has going on, follow him on Instagram at Jim Shockey Official, and that is JimShockey Official. Also go to his website, jimshockey.com. Check out his shows on the Outdoor Channel, Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventures, The Professionals, Uncharted, and Shock Therapy. And be sure to pick up his novel, Call Me Hunter, wherever books are sold. You can follow me on the social channels at Jack Carr USA. OfficialJackCarr.com is the website. Click on shop in the upper right-hand corner for the merch. And if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure and leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. Until the next time, take care out there. Stay safe, be strong, keep fighting.